raining all day long, and where it goes on. A heavy downpour has drenched the entire Seattle-Tacoma area, so much so that officials have for a time talked about delaying the kickoff. They have decided to try to kick it off at the normally scheduled time, but the field is not in great shape. They've had some drainage problems here. They've had some buckling. To compound matters, they're expecting heavy winds. On a night when we're expecting winds of up to 70 miles an hour, Seattle is set to welcome a familiar NFC West rival in the 49ers of San Francisco. They beat the Seahawks just a month ago, but the stakes are considerably higher now. With a win, the Seattle Seahawks can clinch a third straight division crown by beating the San Francisco 49ers.
With realignment, you know, the NFC West hasn't been around too long. When we came into this division, really the St. Louis Rams were the best team and the 49ers were their only competition. It's a little bit different now.
We are the best!
They're the team to beat, and as simple as that.
Who run this? We run this! We the town!
They got the throne, and that's where we're trying to be at.
And rolling out to the right, Smith on a keeper, boot legs to the end zone, touchdown 49ers!
It was a big hurdle for us, I think, you know, a big stepping stone with confidence.
And they ran the ball well and made a lot of big plays, and, you know, this go-around, we can't let that happen.
Our expectations are high. Definitely not satisfied, but we'll take where we're at right now.
It's been a long time since teams made the playoffs. We're a young team. To be able to smell it, in a sense, you know, I think we're all really hungry for that opportunity and are doing everything possible to get there.
Seahawks versus 49ers, $3.
I have a desire to always go out there and play with a spirit of excellence, be better than what I even thought I could be, and to push guys to play better than what they thought they could be, and at the end, be the only man standing.
Here at Qwest Field, the field is drenched, but we are still all systems go for a kickoff that looks like it'll be pushed back by only a couple of moments. Referee Pete Morelli did walk around the field. He had some discussions about the drainage problems here on this field turf, but as you can see, he gave the all clear signal, thumbs up. Let's go. We're still waiting for arrival of the teams on the field. Been a strange night. And good evening. Welcome to Primetime Football on NFL Network. Brian Gumbel along with Chris Collinsworth. We're dry. Nothing else can say that. No, it's pouring. Yeah. It's been pouring.
And it's just going to be a strange game tonight. It really is. I've never seen rain come down like what we saw a few minutes ago. The big Jumbotron scoreboard went out. The electricity went out in the stadium. There are bubbles on the field. So who knows what we have in store here tonight.
And the funny thing is, all day long, what we were talking about, what we were expressing concern about was the wind.
Right.
Because they were talking about sustained winds this evening of 30 to 50 miles an hour and gusts exceeding 60 and 70.
What's the Caddyshack line? I don't think the heavy stuff's coming in for some time. I mean, really, it's supposed to get worse than this.
It is going to get worse. In any event, there's a football game on tap tonight, and for that we got good news and bad news. The good news is it's division rivals. The bad news is the division is the NFC West. That's the runt of the NFL litter. But the Seattle Seahawks, it seems, are going to get in the tournament, whether it's tonight or next week or the week afterwards. A year ago, they were 11-2 at this time, had won 9 straight. Now they're 8-5 and coming off a bad loss in Arizona.
But, you know, they think they're still going to put it together. They've had so many different injuries to their quarterback, their star running back, their offensive line. And they just feel like that if they can piece it together, maybe the way the Pittsburgh Steelers did at the end of last season, and just get it going a little bit, once you get in the tournament, their feeling is, who scares you out of the NFC? There's not a tremendous team that doesn't have some flaw somewhere, so their hopes are still high.
Give you an idea of how much it's changed. Sean Alexander, 28 touchdowns last year. This year, just 3.
Yeah, and I really think that's been the difference with the Seahawks this season, that when they don't run the football, then they can't go to their play-action passing game, and their passing game doesn't look quite as good, and then their defense is on the field a little bit longer, and it all just sort of comes back to, can Sean Alexander get it going? A couple of changes on the offensive line tonight. They're going a little younger there, and the feeling is that maybe 3 or 4 weeks down the road, we really hit our stride. and make a run.
Part of the problem is they haven't had their normal starting unit on the field. Hasselbeck was down for 4 games. Sean Alexander missed a bunch of games. Tonight they're without the NFL's leading receiver in Darrell Jackson.
Yeah, I'm not sure the receiver is going to make any difference at all out here tonight. But, you know, really that may be to the great advantage of the San Francisco 49ers. Frank Gore had 212 yards the last time these two teams got together. So maybe if it turns into one of those kind of games like a high school football game, just side running the other way, that it's to the
He's leading rusher. He's a guy with over 1,300 yards. How about his running style? Does it suit a slippery field like this?
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it really does. And this is a big, powerful offensive line for the 49ers. And for the Seattle Seahawks, if they have a weakness, it's really that they're undersized over on their side of the ball, sort of like the Indianapolis Colts. So if they can just get the push and you got a big, powerful guy like Frank Gore running up in there, could be a good night for the 49ers.
Whenever the weather's bad, we always wonder how tight a spiral can the quarterback throw. If you're looking at Alex Smith versus Matt Hasselbeck, who has the advantage?
I think Matt Hasselbeck. He lives here. He plays in this stuff. And remember Alex Smith a season ago, there was a lot of talk about, was his hand big enough? He was having trouble handling the NFL football. And this year was a lot better because the quarterbacks had the ability to scuff up the ball a little bit and do some things with it. But if you're going to pick one of those two, I think definitely Matt Hasselbeck.
And finally, after considerable delay, the defending NFC champion Seattle Seahawks make their way onto the field.
We think there's at least smoke, so we're assuming they're coming out.
They are going to show up at some point, aren't they, Chris?
I think so. This is all for dramatic effect, as they say. This is sort of like one of those boxing moments before the fighters come out on the field.
You know, we always know that the champion makes the challenger wait, but this is getting ridiculous.
Maybe there's a fire in there. They just can't get through there.
It actually, the rain has abated somewhat. It's that old story about you should have seen it yesterday. I mean, up until about a half hour ago, maybe even 20 minutes ago, it was coming down in sheets here. It doesn't look like it right now, but that field is considerably wet, and there are patches in it that are buckling just a little bit. As you can see, the winds right now only at 20 miles an hour. The temperature is pretty comfortable. But again, I think part of their decision to go with it right now was the fact that if you look at the weather map, the worst stuff is yet to come.
Yeah, it really is. And you know, for the Seattle Seahawks, you can talk about the weather, you can talk about anything that you want to talk about, but this is a game they need. You know, they want to put away the San Francisco 49ers. And is it a long shot that the 49ers could get back and get in the playoff hunt? It certainly is, but the shortest way for them is to win this division because they already have one win over the Seahawks. So if they had two, they would hold all the tiebreakers with 2 to go.
We look at the playoff race there in the NFC, and for all of their problems, the Seattle Seahawks remain just a game behind, game out of the number 2 seed, presently held by the New Orleans Saints.
That you just know this is going to be one of those bizarre kind of football games where there's a fumble, there's a tip ball, there's a return by a defensive tackle for a touchdown. There's going to be kicks that are blown all over the place in this one. And so for these two defenses, this is really now their chance to shine because you know, the Seattle Seahawks, a team that's typically built around their pass rush. They like to blitz, they like to use their speed, they like to get after the quarterback. But when you're playing in a game in which there's not going to be many passes thrown, or at least you assume that with the 49ers side, is that edge that they have with that speed diminished a bit.
When these two teams met just a month ago, it was the turnover bug that did the Seahawks in. They turned it over 5 times and staked the 49ers to a 20-point edge. 49ers jumped out in front, led it 20-0, and then held on to win it 20-14. That was just a month ago, but back then the Seahawks had Seneca Wallace starting and not Matt Hasselbeck. Let's go downstairs where Adam Schefter can bring us up to speed on the condition of the field. Adam?
Brian, thanks for sending it down. Basically, it's been pouring out here all night long, and Pete Morelli, the referee, has been in contact with the league office. They were sufficiently satisfied that the bubbles on the field have gone down, but Pete Morelli said in no uncertain terms that they will not hesitate to suspend the game again if they find that the bubbles that were on the field before pop up again. But both coaches were assured that they feel like the field is in playing shape right now. The referees are going to keep a very close eye on it, but both sides and the league office have been satisfied that the field is now playable.
Adam, stay with me for a quick question here, if you can. Can you tell us where the field is worse?
Well, you know, Brian, there have been spots all over the field that have popped up throughout the pregame warm-up routine, and essentially they had covered up the spots that were bubbling up. They put gates on those areas, and they were popping up in unpredictable spots, going down, and other bubbles were popping up. So they really were all over the field.
So it really is a drainage problem.
That was the drainage problem. That's exactly what it was, and I think that they feel like the drainage problem now has been stopped, or at least temporarily corrected.
But I could assume that's something that would get worse if the rain worsened.
Well, it looks like it could be a problem all night long, and it's something that the referees will be closely watching throughout the entire game. And as Pete Morelli said, they're not going to hesitate to suspend this game again if those drainage problems should happen to arise again.
All right, Adam, get dry. Thanks so very much. It's not just water problems. We've got power problems here, pal.
And there's no question. There was just a power surge here. We've already seen the Jumbotron turn off at one point in the day. Hats are rolling around, and it's just a crazy, crazy night for football. And we've said it before, as bad as the rain and the field and all that stuff, we're just now beginning to feel the wind. I mean, the wind that's supposed to come in here tonight is just outrageous. I grew up in Florida, and they're talking about 80-mile-per-hour gusts. Oh, that's a hurricane. 75 miles an hour, that's a hurricane.
After all that, we are just about set for the kickoff. This game presented in high definition. Let's just see all the raindrops in great HD.
There is an overhang that has to be, what, 25 feet in front of us? And we're getting wet in the booth in here. I mean, that is how strange the conditions are here tonight.
They're not even going to try to have Josh Brown kick it off the tee. We've already got the holder. They're not going to wait for it to blow off. Seattle will be moving right to left across your screen. The 49ers will be receiving the opening kickoff. Kelly Jennings is the holder. Maurice Hicks is back to receive. This one goes out of the end zone, assisted by that Gus. Let's go ahead and set San Francisco's offense for you. Alex Smith was the top pick in last year's draft. Now in his second season, he has shown dramatic improvement, but has still thrown more interceptions than touchdowns. Running back Frank Gore having a terrific season, leads the NFC in rushing. Antonio Bryant's the deep threat. Rookie Vernon Davis is a monster at tight end. That's their #1 pick. The Niners' offensive line has struggled to find consistency. All-world left guard Larry Allen is in his 13th season. Tackle Quaim Harris anchors the right side. Frank Gore, the lone back behind Smith. That's Norris in motion. Gore brought down by Ken Hamlin gives us a chance to set Seattle's defense. Grant Wistrom, Rocky Bernard, Chuck Darby, Bryce Fisher make up the lightest front four in the NFL. Behind them, Julian Peterson starts outside after spending 6 years in San Francisco. Lofa Tatupu, the leading tackler, is in the middle. Left corner Marcus Trufant is the key to Seattle's secondary. Ken Hamlin starts at strong safety. The other safety is a converted cornerback, Jordan Babineau. It's 2nd and 7. Gore with his second carry. Skipping left, crossing the 25 before he's stacked up. Leaving Smith with a 3rd and 5.
Well, the Seattle Seahawks are leaving no question what their strategy is going to be. They've got their safety, Ken Hamlin, right down there as almost like a 4th linebacker. In the first game between these two teams, the feeling was Seattle tried to get a little cute, bring him down late, and Frank Gore got him. In this game, they're just bringing Ken Hamlin down right from the start.
This is 3rd and 4. This will give us an early indication of how much Mike Nolan is willing to let Alex Smith put the ball in the air on such an inclement night. Gore jumps early. It'll go to 3rd and 9.
Well, Frank Gore saw what he thought was a blitz coming, and leaned a little bit into it and got caught.
Number 21, offense. 5-yard penalty remains. 3rd down.
Yeah, now you get into a whole strategic thing, whether or not you're going to try to pick up first downs on a 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11 in these kinds of conditions, or do you simply hand the football off, try to punt it, try to play field position? And my guess is the 49ers will be pretty conservative here.
Gore's the lone setback. That's Davis coming your way. Swings it outside for Gore, overthrows him, and the 49ers will be 3 and out.
And that ball came out a little strange out of Alex Smith's hands there, and I think that we really have to keep an eye on him tonight and how well he's going to be able to handle this wet football. Some quarterbacks can. I can remember Troy Aikman tell me that the first thing he did every day was get up and watch the Weather Channel because he lived in fear of these kind of rain conditions.
He didn't like a wet ball?
Hated it. Some quarterbacks, it's no issue at all. For some, it is.
Andy Lee with our first putt of the night. This is Burleson getting it on the first top and being swarmed under. Ball's loose. Looked like Seattle may have gotten it. Brian Jennings with the hit on Burleson. We'll have to wait until they umpire.
Well, there you have an indication of what this night's going to be like. There are going to be times when a punt is your best play because of how difficult it is to hang on to this ball. And if the 49ers come out with this one, that they don't.
Indication is Seattle. Over/under on turnovers tonight, pal. What do you want to call it?
I'm thinking about 6 or 7.
6 or 7.
Look at it. I mean,
that is Oliver Celestin being credited with the recovery at the bottom of the pile.
There had to be 7 different sets of hands on this ball, and nobody could pick it up. And the ball right now is as dry as it's going to be. It's going to get worse from here. I think they have 24 footballs in play tonight, but by the end of the first quarter, they'll probably all be drenched.
So the Seahawks will start their operation from just inside their own 40, and Hasselbeck will throw on first down. Overthrowing, picked and dropped. Brandon Moore had it in and out of his arms. What could have been a big turnover early in this ball game.
Can I adjust it to 8 or 9? Whatever.
I was going to say the over/under may have to be 9 on the turnovers.
I mean, so far we've seen how many plays? Maybe 5 plays, and the ball's been loose on 2 or 3 of them already here. And it's, well, if the wide receivers can't catch it, you know a linebacker's not going to be able to catch it.
Brandon Moore, 5th-year player out of Oklahoma, had one right in his arms. He'll regret that one. This is Sean Alexander getting his first carry of the night, looking for room outside and barely getting past the line of scrimmage. Let's set Seattle's offense for you. As we've noted, Matt Hasselbeck has missed 4 games this year with a knee injury. He's still thrown for 16 touchdowns, been intercepted 11 times. Sean Alexander, as last year's MVP, starts in the backfield. Darrell Jackson, Seattle's leading receiver, is out. Nate Burleson gets a start. Up front, left tackle Walter Jones remains a standout. Rob Sims starts in place of the injured Floyd Porkchop Womack. Chris Spencer's in at center for the veteran Robbie Tobin. Third and 9, Hasselbeck throwing this side, connected. Deion Branch, first down Seattle.
Now that was a throw there. Matt Hasselbeck, we had heard that he is a very good wet ball thrower, and I guess that's one of the prerequisites if you're going to be the quarterback of the Seattle Seahawks. But he dropped back and just ripped this throw. Perfect spiral. And so many times when you get in a bad weather game, you know that you're going to have to keep that ball tight into the wind to be able to make these kinds of throws.
First down Seattle just past midfield. Alexander will get it again. And as he gets back to the line of scrimmage, maybe a gain of 1. Let's set the defense for San Francisco. Their front 4 features Melvin Oliver, a rookie at one end, and 13-year veteran Bryant Young at the other. Linebacker Brandon Moore leads the team in sacks. Jeff Ulbrich starts in the middle for the team's leading tackler Derek Smith, who's out with a quad injury. Walt Harris is the star of the secondary with 6 picks. Keith Lewis, Mark Roman, Shante Spencer round out that group. Alexander trying the right side for the first time tonight. Shante Spencer coming up with the stop.
You know, it really has been a very strange year for Sean Alexander, coming off of really the tremendous season that he had a year ago, in which he set the NFL record with 28 touchdowns, led the NFL with over 1,800 yards rushing, and this year with the foot injury and trying to come back. And I was talking to him about it, and he said that and all the changes on the offensive line. So when we used to study film, all we would study is the opponent. Now I'm still trying to figure out what our guys are doing, and it's a very different year.
3rd and 5, Hasselbeck over the middle, completing. Deion Branch once again. Nope, they're calling this one incomplete. Well, and you know what? It has stopped raining.
Yeah, Hasselbeck with no problems, but for Deion Branch, just gets through his hands. I mean, he really had the football. He made the catch, but what happens is your arms get slimy. So once you try to cradle it into your arms, it hits that wet spot on your forearm. It's
I'm laughing. Your arms get slimy?
Slimy, yeah. I'll try to use smaller words as I go.
No, I understand. I know wet. I don't know slimy.
Slimy.
This will be a fair catch just at the 16-yard line. Brandon Williams there on a rainy night in Seattle at Quest Field. We're scoreless 5 minutes into the first period. Lovely look at Seattle on a Thursday night where we're back at Quest Field. The temperature is pretty comfortable here, but the elements are difficult. As you can see, the wind is picking up. It's blowing out of the southeast. That's the closed-in section of this beautiful stadium. Frank Gore working his way past the 18-yard line before being brought down by Kevin Bentley.
Boy, and I tell you, the Seattle Seahawks defensively are just in straight man-to-man coverage and playing everybody else at the line of scrimmage and basically daring Alex Smith to try and throw the football against them. But when you have a weapon like Frank Gore, it's also hard to get away from him.
Moran Norris is the up back. Gore is deep. Smith will throw on 2nd down. Couldn't tell if that was tipped or not.
I really don't know who he was intending that ball for, but you can see he's very tentative. Remember back to where Matt Hasselbeck was making that throw, and he just let it rip. You got this one. It just kind of
slipped out of his hands, it seemed.
That's ugly. I mean, some guys can and some guys can't, and so far it looks like Alex Smith can't, but long night, we'll see.
He's faced with another throwing 3rd down. It's 3rd and 7. Pressure on his left side, incomplete. Intended for their #1 draft pick, Vernon Davis, and once again, the 49ers will have to punt.
You know, he was telling me, Alex Smith was telling me that last year there were actually games on the road in which during his drop back, he was thinking about the grip on the football before they changed the rule in which the quarterbacks were able to rough up the footballs a little bit and bring your own on the road and all that. And he said, so far this year hasn't been a problem at all. I feel so much better. But he looks like he's thinking about this wet ball when he's dropping back now. I could almost see it in his eyes.
Andy Lee will punt it away to Nate Burleson. It is Burleson who coughed it up the last time. He'll field this one at his 33 and fair catch it there. And Seattle's offense will take the field for the 2nd time tonight with 9:39 to go in the first in a scoreless game in Seattle. NFL Films counts down to the best team to ever win a Super Bowl. Tomorrow it's number 17. The 1994 San Francisco 49ers. Here's Steve Young and his teammates tell the story of a team that was truly young at heart. It's tomorrow night at 8:30, only on NFL Network. Number 17, I had him higher than that. Didn't you?
Yeah, Deion was on that team, wasn't he?
Then I definitely had him higher. Hasselbeck will throw on 1st down, swings it wide to Max Strong, regaining his feet, getting back to the 35-yard line.
You know, a lot to talk about with this Seattle offense. We'll start with Matt Hasselbeck, of course, coming back from the knee injury that had him out for a few games, and saying that they had this really restrictive tape job on that knee and a big brace that they had on there. And he didn't mind the brace so much, but the tape job was really bothering him. Last week they finally took it off, and you could tell the difference in his play.
Sean Alexander working his way back to the line of scrimmage. Bobby Engram is in, and that's a pleasant sight for anybody who's ever cross paths with that veteran receiver out of Penn State. Bobby's had a lot of problems. He had a thyroid condition. He had an accelerated heart rate, and he's missed 8 games.
And Hasselbeck really missed him. He said that that's the guy I trust the most, that when he runs a route out of the slot, usually on 3rd down, he said, I know exactly what he's going to do and where he's going to be.
Max Strong is alone in the backfield now. Hasselbeck swings it this way. That's DJ Hackett being pushed out at midfield. Hackett coming off his first 100-yard game as a receiver in a losing effort last week in the desert against Arizona.
And there's some conflict of opinion as to whether or not DJ Hackett doesn't belong in the starting lineup for the Seattle Seahawks. Now, that's not just from 1 or 2 players and coaches, and I'm not going to give these guys up, but a lot of people think that despite all the big money to Burleson and Deion Branch and Darrell Jackson, that this kid doesn't belong in the game.
Hasselbeck completing this one once again to Hackett.
And the thing about DJ Hackett is that here's a guy that was a basketball player. And when he came here, he really didn't know that much about the nuances of playing receiver and how to read zones and how to get open and all those kinds of things. But he knows how to use his body. And if you saw the game last week, a couple times he went up between defenders, sort of like got rebound position, made big plays, and Hasselbeck's getting really confident in him.
Hackett, a second-year man out of Colorado, and this time Alexander's going to be thrown for a loss. Give Marcus Douglas out of Howard University credit for that stop. Good penetration.
Yeah, and that's something you didn't see much out of the Seattle offense a season ago. Usually when they ran left, it was pretty sweet running to the left. Or Steve Hutchinson now with the Minnesota Vikings and that whole crazy thing with his contract. But this was a team that when they ran left behind Hutchinson and Walter Jones, more often than not, it was for big yardage.
Well, Walter told us he was actually working on good communication with Porkchop Womack there, but Womack is inactive tonight, and Robbie Sims is starting at left guard. This one off the hands of Deion Branch and almost picked. Walt Harris defending.
And Walt Harris has really been a tremendous asset for this 49ers team. Already 6 interceptions on the year. Yeah, I thought the ball was tipped just a little bit before that. It looked like Mark Roman got his hand on it, just to tip it away at the last second. And Walt Harris had a shot.
It'll bring us to a 3rd down, 3rd and 13. Hasselbeck throwing long over the middle, incomplete. Intended for tight end Jeremy Stevens. Chad Williams defending.
And you're not hearing something like a love chant here. This is a boo, a legitimate boo. If you know Jeremy Stevens' history at all, go back to the Super Bowl a year ago. His drops made a major difference in that ball game, and he just has lost confidence. You can tell he doesn't handle it when the coaches scream at him. He loses more confidence. Hasselbeck tries to build him up the best he can, but really has trouble adjusting to the ball in the air.
We see Ryan Plackmeyer for the first time tonight. Punting this one down. Seahawks trying to down it. And it looks like they did it successfully at the 5-yard line. Great play down there by Marcus Weeks. He was the one who jumped in the air and batted it back into the field of play without going past the end line. 6:29 to play on the first. We're back after this. Back in Seattle, where the 49ers offense has had trouble getting on track. They've had 2 3-and-outs and now are forced to start from their own 5-yard line.
And you have a young quarterback in one of the loudest stadiums in the NFL, backed up. Can't make a mistake here.
Frank Gore gets the call and tries to find some running room. Give him a gain of 2 before Russell Davis with the stop.
Here's Marcus Weeks coming down. Now the rule is, as long as you jump before you hit the goal line, you can tap it back. It's sort of like a play in basketball, you know, where a guy runs and jumps out of bounds and throws the ball back in. That's the same rule that applies in football on the goal line.
One of the 49ers is down. Try to get a number there. We'll identify when we come back. We'll take a break right here. is the 49er who is down on the field at the 5-yard line. 50-year pro out of Stanford. He seemed to have gotten caught up in the wash there.
And watch number 55, Daryl Tapp, as he tries to reach around, just going to go right on top of the ankle, knee. And that's a big loss for the 49ers. Eric Heitman, probably their second best offensive lineman behind the great Larry Allen. And so now as you continue down the depth chart, it gets tougher and tougher for these 49ers, especially on the offensive side.
The backup center listed is David Bass, but we saw Tony Raggi working snaps there with Alex Smith. Raggi is listed as the backup left guard. Second-year man out of New Mexico State, but
he's played a lot of football over the last couple of years. Played with the Rhein Fire of NFL Europe and then with the Los Angeles Avengers of the Arena League. So it's not like he hasn't been playing. He just hasn't been playing at this
NFL
level. Yeah, not quite this level. And there's big Larry Allen, one of the great players in the history of this game, and obviously concerned about his mate.
I didn't know you were so up on NFL Europe. I'm impressed.
I'm not. Got the air cast, looks like, going on now, and certainly I'm not going to speculate as to what it may or may not be, but those offensive linemen are a family, you know, more so than any other group on the team. They live together, they eat together, they don't want to talk to anybody else, they don't want to hang out with anybody else, and when one of them goes down,
let's talk about the problems that San Francisco's offense has had, and part of it has been field position. They've had 3 drives this evening. One started at their 20, one at their 16, and this one at their 5. For a young quarterback who's having problems finding his way, that's not a formula for success.
Well, and at some point, you have to prove that you can throw the football, because it is like a shrinking envelope, you know? I mean, the more you throw it poorly, the more they come play the run. And at some point, Alex is going to have to prove that he can take it and throw it over the top. Even if it's incomplete, it's important at some point now, early in this game, that he take it and try one down the field.
Would be risky business down and this deep in your own end.
It's too bad. Eric Heitman, really a good football player, and gives the fist and appreciates the support from the guys.
Still deep in his own end. Smith is faced with 2nd and 8. Frank Gore once again getting across the 10-yard line. Jordan Babinich was the one in there trying to strip him, and if Gore has had a problem this year, it has been with fumbles. He's lost 5 of them.
Yeah, when all else fails, just follow number 71, Larry Allen. Now, Larry, at one time, he looked more like a halfback coming around the edge and making that block. He certainly has slowed down a little bit, but when he gets his hands on you, it is still an ugly sight.
Third down, Gore gets it, and the 49ers will have to punt once again. Give Chuck Darby credit with the stop.
You know, I think Norv Turner, the offensive coordinator, is seeing exactly what I'm seeing as far as Alex Smith having trouble throwing the football. And again, as long as the score stays the way that it is, and you just turn around and give it to Frank Gore. But the problem is, you see the safeties now down playing linebacker. Ken Hamlin, he must have at least 4 tackles on the night. And when the safety's down there, that means they don't think you can beat them throwing the football.
Andy Lee will punt for the 3rd time tonight, this time from his own end zone. Burleson will field this at his 45. Gets back past the 45 of San Francisco before he's dragged down at the 43. We're inside 5 minutes the first period, still awaiting our first score in Seattle. Back in Seattle, Washington at Quest Field on what has been a very rainy and windy Thursday night. And the Seattle Seahawks have been the ones moving up and down the field. The 49ers have had 3 3-and-outs. This is Alexander getting a carry.
Yeah, it really starts to weigh on a defense when your offense continues to play the way the 49ers have been playing offensively so far, not getting first downs, not being able to stay on the field for a little bit of time, not getting the running game or the passing game going. And so the burden now, as the field continues to shrink on this 49ers defense, gets tougher and tougher for San Francisco.
Seattle's been working a short field all night, the 43-yard line, their average starting field position. This is Hasselbeck swinging wide once again. DJ Hackett getting past the markers for an apparent first down.
And that's what makes it really tough. When the Seattle Seahawks are at their best, this is what they do. They pound the football, and then come out with the play action or the bootleg. You're spread out. You've got 3 and 4 wide receivers on the field. And it just is a very difficult thing as long as you can run the football first.
Deepest penetration for the night for the Seahawks. Alexander finding running room up the middle, cutting back to the right side, getting inside the 15-yard line before Mike Adams putting a stop.
Playing over on the left side, number 67, Rob Sims, getting his first start of the evening, and they get the double team down inside. But not only that, Rob Sims also able to get up on the second level of the linebacker. That's what we did not see out of Floyd Womack, and that's part of the reason they made the switch. Womack with a groin injury as well, but I think Sims the better player.
Hasselbeck with time, over the middle, overthrowing Deion Branch. With that last run, Alexander extending his own record to 62 games, consecutive games, with a run of at least 10 or more. And we've got our first flag, our second flag of the night.
Number 62, offense. 10-yard penalty, still first down.
Chris Gray with the active hands.
And that has been part of the issue for Seattle. Not only mistakes on the offensive side, giving up big plays on the defensive side of the ball. And you know, it's a team that's been back and forth. And Mike Holmgren, from the days that coaching back in high school and Brigham Young and wherever you go, you just can't beat yourself, especially with this offensive team. They're too good.
On 1st and 20, Alexander gets it, heading inside, ball comes loose. Looks like the 49ers are on it. Let's wait for a call. Certainly they were the first to get there. It looked like Walt Harris was the man who knocked it free. We don't want to know what's happened at the bottom of that pile. Preliminary indication, and indeed, the Seahawks will hang on to it. It was Walt Harris who came up and jarred it loose, and there were two 49ers on the ball, but they couldn't corral it.
Well, you could see that Sean Alexander was distracted, the tackler coming from the other way, and he just never saw Walt Harris, who came in and stripped the football away. It was Mark Roman who was there initially, and that's a pretty easy recover right there by Chad Williams, and he just let it go.
They're saying that Nate Burleson was the man at the bottom of the pile who came up with it. It'll leave the Seahawks 1st and goal from the 3. Alexander struggling, waiting for an indication. Touchdown, Seattle. Again, working that left side behind Walter Jones and Robbie Sims. First contact at the 2, but fought his way in.
But you got movement there. What you saw was Walter Jones and Rob Sims and Chris Spencer getting movement off the ball, and more often than not, especially down on the goal line, you don't see that in the NFL. You see guys that they have to pick a crack and somewhere to go, but when your offensive line can get a push backwards, it's going to be a touchdown.
Josh Brown makes it a 7-0 ball game. Seattle on the board first with 2:18 to play in the first period. They lead by a touchdown over San Francisco.
Outside Keith Lewis, one-on-one against Sean Alexander, and that's just not fair, not in a hole that big. No way to keep Sean out of the end zone. You know, Sean Alexander is a different runner down around the goal line. You know, out in the middle of the field, sometimes you'll say, okay, he'll go down and slide to a stop and avoid contact. But when he gets inside the red zone, he's a different guy there.
Even when he was in Alabama, he likes that line. Josh Brown will kick this one away. Maurice Hicks retreats 2 yards into his end zone. Can't decide what to do with it, brings it out, and he'll get back to at least the 20, call it the 27, before he is dragged down. Jordan Babineau and Lance Laurie there on the stop. And as San Francisco's offense comes onto the field, Frank Gore, who is wired for sound tonight.
that like Florida.
All right.
That like Florida, Frank. It's going to be raining, going to be snow. The great ones play in all kinds of weather. You step up.
All right.
You got to step up now.
Just like Florida, he said. Now you tell me where is this in Florida where it's got raining and snow. He said it's going to be raining, going to be snow.
North Florida, maybe.
North Florida, obviously. 49ers with their best starting field position of the night, just inside the 26. And they'll start it from 5 yards farther back, that's for sure.
False start. Number 47, offense. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
That's reserve tight end Billy Bajema. We've gotten word from the San Francisco locker room that Eric Heitman suffered a broken right tibia, so he's not only done for the night, but we would assume the season.
Yep. Here's that inverted wishbone formation we've seen from the 49ers.
Swings it back this side. This is Gore. 2 blockers in front, pushed out as he crosses the 30-yard line. We've got a flag back inside the 20. Tony Romo's flair and talent have captured fans in the Lone Star State, but who is he? Where did he come from? We'll find out this Friday at 10 p.m. Eastern
Flag just dropped out.
on the Who is Tony Romo show, including a candid conversation between Tony and Dion. There was no flag, just fell out.
I don't know if I've ever seen that.
You must have seen it once.
Just fell out?
Just kind of fell out.
All right. Seen everything else tonight. Might as well see one of those.
49ers trying to get something going, anything going on what's been a bad night so far. This is Gore fighting through 2 tacklers for a gain of 2. Marcus Trufant was the one whose hold he broke before going down.
And Frank Gore is one of those guys that everybody just loves. I mean, he went through some issues. His family had some tough moments and had some learning disabilities growing up, but he always found a way to get through school, to get his work done. He lives in an apartment right next to the complex. You find him there at 10, 11 o'clock at night watching film. Everybody has nothing but nice things to say about that young man.
He's the kind of kid a lot of folks root for.
Sure do.
Smith will throw on 3rd down, throwing low this side. Vernon Davis short of the first down, and the 49ers will have to punt again.
And former 49er Julian Peterson out there, who's really one of the most athletic linebackers that there is. But you see, once again, Alex Smith, that's a bad throw. If he gets that ball out in front of Vernon Davis where he has a chance to catch it cleanly and turn up, he might pick up the first down. They were only about 1.5 yards short. But he just looks like he's holding on to it, or, you know, he's just worried about it coming out of his hands.
Well, didn't you say his hands were not very large?
Well, that was the discussion last year for sure.
Andy Lee's been a busy man tonight. Burleson will let this one roll, and it does at the 30-yard line. We're down to the 10-second mark in the first period, and Matt Hasselbeck will lead his troops back onto the field. Been a tough night for the 49ers across the board. When they last met, they jumped out to a big lead with the help of some turnovers, but didn't generate much offense in the second half, and we've seen more of that throughout this first period.
Yeah, Mike Nolan, he knows he's trying to get something established with his young quarterback. He's going to have to see all these different kinds of conditions and make something work for him eventually. This is a young man that won in high school. I think only lost 1 or 2 games. One in college. I think only lost 1 game as a starter, whatever, and it's gotten to the NFL, and a little different story here.
Helps to have Reggie Bush in high school.
Yeah, it sure does.
Completes this one to Nate Burleson on what will be our final play of the first period. Shante Spencer coming up with the stop. At Quest Field, they'll change ends, but one ends as wet as the other on this Thursday night. Seahawks having things very much their own way. They lead the 49ers 7-0. We're back in Seattle where the 49ers first half woes continue. That graphic pretty much tells the story. Wow.
I mean, that's double some really bad teams.
I'm glad you said it. I was going to say not very successful clubs.
Oh, boy, and they've got a long way to go here offensively, and it's all going to be around Alex Smith and whether or not he can be good enough. You know, you start to look around at some of the guys like Vince Young this year and
Matt
Leinart, and even Jay Cutler getting a chance to start. And he was the #1 pick last year, the first player out of the entire draft. The 49ers.
Okay. All right. So give me an order. Those 4 guys. Your team.
He's last.
He's last.
Yep. And it's not close.
Who's first?
Oh, you're going to hate this, but I still think Jay Cutler eventually will be the best of them. But Matt Leinart, I saw Matt Leinart last week on tape.
You think Cutler
awesome.
#1 of those 4?
I know, it's ridiculous. But Vince Young, he's been sensational, and I've been wrong before.
Good starting field position again for the Seahawks. This is Alexander off the left side. Coming up about a yard short of the first down. The Seahawks lead the 49ers 7-0, not only in points, but first downs tonight. 7 first downs for the Seahawks, none for the 49ers.
Yeah, and until the 49ers begin to take away this run, believe me, Mike Holmgren's going to be more than happy to just pound it at them. And defensively, Derek Smith, the outstanding middle linebacker, not in there, but this is a 49ers defense that has a lot of holes to fill in this upcoming draft.
We've got a whistle in our first time out of the night. Seattle calls it. I'm curious. Now, why do you pick Cutler ahead of...
I knew that was going to bug you all night.
It really does. I think it's strange. Why Cutler ahead of Leinart and Young?
And he hasn't shown anything yet. And he was terrible the other night, and I understand that. There are people that I know in the league that I really trust that think that this kid has everything. I watched him during the course of the preseason. He has a rocket arm. He's in an outstanding organization with Mike Shanahan. You know, eventually the Broncos are going to get their running woes fixed. And when they start running the ball, I think he'll start doing it. I don't know if it happens this year or in future years. And certainly an argument can be made with the way that Vince Young has come in there and done some remarkable things. The play he made at the end of the game the other night, just simply sensational. And Matt Leinart, I've talked to a couple people that have called him the natural.
He looked great last week.
He sure did. And where he just makes plays that you don't see out of rookie quarterbacks. And he was terrific a week ago.
3rd and short. As we reach 9 o'clock in the East. Hasselbeck with a lot of time. Throwing this one well beyond the reach of DJ Hackett.
Well, I tell you, that's an interesting call with the way that they've been running the football on 3rd and 1 to sort of just drop back in a 4 wide receiver set and chunk one up there. Sean Alexander's the nicest human being maybe to ever play in the National Football League, and he probably won't say anything on the sideline, but if you had a jerk like me playing running back, you'd have gotten an earful walking over there.
Plaquemire will punt it away. Brandon Williams and Arnez Battle are back.
Timeout, San Francisco.
And the 49ers will call their first timeout of the night. Gives us a chance to take a break with 14-19 to play in the first half. Seattle leading 7-0. Seattle set to punt it away. Now the 49ers have 11 men on the field. They call timeout because they had 10. This one is blocked. This one is blocked. Keith Lewis would seem to be the 49er who got in and got a hand on that one, and the 49ers will have their best starting field position of the night.
So now that decision to try and throw it on 3rd and 1 becomes even bigger. The field changes, and I'm sure Mike Holmgren's thinking that, well, at least we're going to change the field. And what a terrific play on the by Keith Lewis. They call him Killer, and you can see why. He just throws his body around out there. Was always a great special teams player, and they simply couldn't keep him out of the starting lineup. He hits so hard, they said, well, if nobody else is going to hit on this defense, we know Keith Lewis will, and they made him a starter.
Still in search of their first down. The 49ers are at their best starting field position of the night. They'll try Frank Gore, and he'll try the right side and not find anything there. Robert Pollard and Kelly Herndon coming up with the stop.
Right now, the San Francisco offensive line is really struggling without Heitman in there. Remember that your center is the one that makes the calls up there. So now you end up with Tony Raggi in the game trying to make those intricate calls, and a lot of times they're just going to make mistakes, and right now Seattle taking advantage of it.
Loss of 3 on the play. Crowd getting into it here at Quest. 12th man. Swings it out this side. Vernon Davis with his third catch of the night, but Julian Peterson stops him in his tracks just short of the 50.
And Julian Peterson, one of those guys that came over in free agency from San Francisco, had the Achilles problem, but boy, he is back, and when he's healthy, he is really electrifying. I thought at one time he was one of the best 3 or 4 linebackers in football. He's probably still in that top 15 range, but he can play everything. He can pass coverage, rush the passer.
He leads the Seattle team in sacks.
He
with 9.
can do everything.
Smith will have to throw on 3rd and 8. Getting time. Looking deep, incomplete, overthrowing Antonio Bryant. Marcus Trufant blanketing him.
And you knew eventually Norv Turner was going to have to try and throw one down the field. It's been raining a little bit less here lately, and so they go with the double move to Antonio Bryant, get the pump fake. But this Seattle Seahawks defense really has been playing much better since they took Michael Boulware out, put Jordan Babineau in. They haven't been biting on as many of those double moves and giving up the big plays that they were earlier this season.
Holmgren said he felt his safeties were just a little too aggressive, and that's why they were getting beat over the top.
And San Francisco's safeties weren't aggressive enough.
Andy Lee booming this one into the end zone. They'll bring it out to the 20. 49ers having no success at all. 5 drives, 5 3-and-outs by the 49ers. By the passing last night of Lamar Hunt at the age of 74, complications due to cancer. Lamar Hunt, one of the founding fathers of the American Football League, a giant in this business, a man who oddly enough wanted the game on Thanksgiving night in Kansas City, and when it finally came, he was rushed to the hospital and never came out.
Yeah, it's really too bad. Lamar Hunt's one of those guys, and we all know a handful of them, that everything in the world went right for this guy. I mean, he was just a magical guy, whether it's business, family, whatever the case may be, but he never changed. He was just a guy. You know, you would never know who he was and all that he had if you didn't know who he was.
And we talk about Lamar Hunt as DJ Hackett gets first down. We talk about the entire world of sports being saddened. This is a man who is in 3 halls of fame in sport. Not only was he the first AFL individual to go into the Hall of Fame in Canton, but he is in the International Tennis Hall of Fame and in the Soccer Hall of Fame.
You know, guys that I know, Nick Bonacani and Lynn Dawson, who played in the AFL and were given a chance to play because there was an AFL, they know that but for Lamar Hunt, an undersized linebacker like Nick Bonacani wouldn't have gotten that chance. You know, Lynn Dawson.
Start, number 38, offense, 5-yard penalty remains, first down.
Lynn Dawson, as great a player as he was a backup year after year, never got a chance, and then he goes over and ultimately ends up beating one of the NFL teams. And there's so many great stories with Lamar Hunt, but certainly a guy that universally around the NFL is so respected, and people cared so much for him, and we really want to send out our condolences to his entire family.
DJ Hackett now with 4 catches for 50 yards. All 4 of his receptions have been for a first down tonight. That's Hackett in the slot to the right. Hasselbeck will throw long. Going for Hackett again, this one falling incomplete. Keith Lewis defending on the play.
Keith Lewis back there, Mark Roman back there, and that was a pretty nice route that time by DJ Hackett. Coming in the slot, little dip inside. It's going to go right around Mark Roman. Mark Roman, a former cornerback, and really had that ball been laid out there a little bit farther, maybe a chance to come up with a play. That was almost the same play they hit on the big one last week in the game against Arizona. They'll come back to him. He's a good player.
They won't this time. This is Alexander working his way up to the 29-yard line before 13-year pro Bryant Young comes through. What a professional he's been.
No, Bryant Young is simply one of the best players, and before he broke his leg back, I don't know, maybe
was headed for the Hall of Fame, maybe?
I think without question. I really do. His numbers every single year that he was putting up, just remarkable. He broke his leg. Hasn't been quite to that level, but you talk to anybody in San Francisco, any of the coaches or players with Seattle, you say, who's their best player? Every single one of them said Bryant Young, and he's been doing it a long time.
It's 3rd and 13. Maurice Morris in the backfield for the first time tonight. Hasselbeck being flushed. He'll get out of bounds at the 32-yard line.
They just come with a 3-man pressure that time, and Bryant Young with some late pressure. And it's interesting that Matt Hasselbeck, for all the really good stuff that he does, and I think he's at his best when he drops back 3 steps, 5 steps, gets the ball out. You talk to some scouts, they say the thing that he does not so well is ad-lib plays. In other words, just like that, when he's out of the pocket, you don't see him come up with some of the plays that you will a Brett Favre, a John Elway kind of a guy.
Plaquemire had the last one blocked. This one, he gets off freely. It'll come to rest and out of bounds at the 27-yard line. With Seattle making a lot of yardage, but not that many points. They're up on San Francisco, 7-0.
Women who work outside in the winter know there is only one choice for workwear, and it's Carhartt. That's why the Prospector now carries Carhartt for women. Carhartt's line of tough, functional outerwear works as hard as you do. Whether you're hauling hay, chopping firewood, or feeding the sheep, it's the same rugged workwear Carhartt makes for men, but sized to fit a woman's build. Whatever brings you outside in the winter, Carhartt has the right clothes for the job. Come see the great selection of Carhartt for women at the Prospector, 1512 Cushman.
Come in and let Taylor's Golden Stones define your terms of endearment for that special someone with an exquisite expression of your everlasting devotion. With brilliant diamonds, colorful gems, Alaskan rutilated and smoky quartz, and the raw beauty of Alaskan gold nuggets, Taylor's can express the many facets of your love. From custom designed jewelry to jewelry repair done at the speed of light on our new laser welder, you can count on our friendly service and professional atmosphere. For gifts as fine as she is, Taylor's Golden Stone.
As a business traveler in Alaska, you need a good hotel at a good location when you arrive in Anchorage. Specializing in comfort, affordable rooms, full service, and most of all, a good night's sleep. It's a hotel where you can relax, enjoy good food, and be ready for your business day. The next time you visit Anchorage, choose the Golden Lion Hotel.
A good look at beautiful Quest Field in Seattle, Washington. Glistening on a Thursday night, where the hometown fans are cheering their Seahawks, who lead 7-0 in the second period. 49ers still looking for their first down of the night. Smith will throw on first. Being flushed, getting back to the line of scrimmage before Chuck Darby chases him out of bounds.
Well, Alex Smith getting out around the corner that time and getting a good block on the play from Frank Gore, who kind of does a little bit of everything out there for the San Francisco 49ers, trying to work it down. There you see him taking out Julian Peterson and looking around for somebody else. That's the kind of all-around football player Frank Gore has become.
Darby came off after that play. We're not sure what the problem is. We'll try to get a word on that. As Gore looks inside, fights his way past the line of scrimmage. As we've noted, he is wired for sound tonight.
Go, go, go! Hey, let's go, man!
Gore knows that on the screenplay, he's supposed to yell, go, 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 when he catches the ball so the lineman can go downfield, but the lineman didn't go fast enough for Frank Gore on that one.
49ers still looking for their first down of the night. The rain's picking up again as Smith looks again for Vernon Davis. This one incomplete, and the 49ers will go off again.
Looking for Vernon Davis, then he turned back to look for Antonio Bryant, and it's just too slow. You know, I mean, I see the plays develop, and I know Mike Nolan sees the plays develop, and Alex Smith has to learn to anticipate that throw. He had Antonio Bryant, but by the time he wound up and saw it and didn't anticipate, it was too late.
Getting a workout is Andy Lee. Is that possible? Is this his 6th punt of the night?
I thought it was his 10th.
Fielding this one at his own 10-yard line. Burleson will step out. Hey, we got another game in a couple of days.
you've got another game in a couple days.
The playoffs are on the line Saturday night when the 8-5 Cowboys travel to Atlanta to face the 7-6 Atlanta Falcons. The action kicks off Saturday night at 8 o'clock Eastern Time, only on the NFL Network. You don't want to make the trip?
I wasn't invited. That's the problem. But for the Dallas Cowboys, they look like they were going to be the runaway winner of that division, and all of a sudden now,
however,
the Giants, the Eagles are sitting right there, and they play each other this week. And so if the Cowboys were to lose in Atlanta, all of a sudden the tiebreakers really start to shift to those other teams. Huge, huge game for the Dallas Cowboys. And for the Atlanta Falcons, for that matter, trying to stay in the hunt.
This side, that is Burleson getting a touch. Here's a look at the complete NFC playoff picture, which Chris, I'm sure, will make sense of.
I can't make it sense out of anything all night. I don't know why I'd start now. But really, the Dallas Cowboys are right there. And here really is the key matchup in my mind, because both of those teams, with the record that they have within the division, within the conference, really have a chance to jump up on the Dallas Cowboys and put tremendous pressure on them. The Saints really laid a number on the Cowboys last weekend at home, and it was an expensive one for the Cowboys.
Sean Alexander once again working his way past the 20. Indication is first down Seattle.
How about that push from Sean Alexander? There really wasn't a whole lot there, and he just sort of put his head in the back of the pile and like a rugby scrum or something, and his momentum was enough to push the lineman and the defensive lineman forward and end up picking up a first down out of it.
Before we leave the subject of the Saints, they always say that no team is as good as it looks when they're winning. But this is not a mirage. How good are they?
I'm beginning to think they're really good. You know, you really have to consider what they've done this season and the number of different ways that they can beat you offensively. Deuce McAllister pounding the ball in the middle, over 100 yards almost every single week. Reggie Bush to the outside out there. Marcus Colston, the outstanding rookie. Joe Horn's been in and out of the lineup. Devery Henderson. They have a lot of different ways to beat you. And the thing that I like most about them is the fact that they can hit you in so many different areas of the field.
Crowd wants an interference penalty. Thought Mark Roman got there a little bit early, but the officials didn't see it that way. How do you feel if you're a Miami fan? You went with Culpepper instead of Brees.
Doesn't look like the right answer right now. There was definitely a little contact down the field, and the rules are so restrictive, but I really thought that was a pretty good play by Mark Roman. He got his hand underneath the arm and knocked it away, and you're seeing some of the corner ability of this now safety for San Francisco.
Leaves the Seahawks needing 5 for the first down. Hasselbeck will throw it this side. That is DJ Hackett once again with his 6th catch of the night, reaching for the marker. Let's wait and see. First down Seattle.
And remember, Darrell Jackson, who without question is the best of these Seattle receivers, is not in the game. And who has become the next guy in your opinion?
DJ Hackett.
You got it.
6 catches, 61 yards so far tonight.
Coming off of his first 100-yard performance a week ago. And they love him here. And I think that he is going to be more and more part of the offense. They've paid a lot of money to these other guys, but he's the player right now that has the hot hand.
You saw that graphic. The Seahawks now with 10 first downs, the 49ers with none. Hasselbeck looking long for Hackett. In and out of his hands at the 15.
Well, he played it the right way. It just didn't catch the ball. He went up and tried to catch it at his highest point and used his body like the rebounder, like the basketball player that we were talking about. But right now, when Matt Hasselbeck decides he's going to throw a ball up in the air, it's going to DJ Hackett, and that one just really kind of went right through his hands.
Mark Roman and Shante Spencer on the coverage back.
Yeah, that's almost one that if he had jumped up and cradled it into his chest, I think he'd have made the play. He tried to go up with his hands, but the ball's a little slimy out there right now.
There's that slimy again. Left side this time, Jeremy Stevens manages to hang on to one. That gets a derisive cheer here in Cincinnati.
What's that called?
In Seattle.
The Bronx cheer or whatever that one's called. But for Jeremy Stevens, here's a kid that if he could ever get it going, I mean, he's such a big athletic guy, a former #1 draft pick, and if he started making plays in the middle, it would really open it up for the outside.
We'll get this play, 1st and 10. Alexander with a gain of 4. I asked Brandon Moore, San Francisco linebacker, yesterday. I said, why does everybody seem to detest Jeremy Stevens? He said, because he runs his mouth. He talks too much. He said he don't make enough plays to do that much talking.
You know, guys that talk a lot, they want you to think that they're confident. But if they're really confident, they don't have to talk so much.
Well, he said
I mean?
Stevens shuts up as the game goes along.
Yeah, I bet you Marshall Faulk didn't say 2 words his entire career out there on the field. He just went out there and whipped you.
On the other hand, Dion probably did.
Yeah, I was going to use Dion, but I thought that was not a good idea.
This is Hackett again, and again a 1st down. Hackett's having a big night.
Yeah, they're using DJ Hackett and that big body inside. They've got Ingram, they've got Burleson on the outside, and it gives Hackett just a chance to work on the inside against middle linebacker Brandon Moore, and he's doing a good job. These are some of the things that Hackett couldn't do early on. He didn't understand how to work a linebacker, use his body, that every week you're seeing him grow and grow.
1st down, Alexander gets hit hard. Brandon Moore and Shante Spencer coming across, getting good penetration. Coming up next, the Wendy's halftime show. We invite you to join Rich Eisen, Steve Mariucci, the aforementioned Deion Sanders, and Marshall Faulk.
The quiet.
First half
Sorry,
highlights
keep reading. Go ahead.
and analysis. And, of course, look ahead to the weekend.
I never got a chance to play against Deion, but I would have enjoyed the show, I think. Even if he'd have shut me out, what the heck? I'd have probably been out there laughing.
I was about to say, if he'd have shut you out?
There's not much doubt about that.
Maurice Morris is in for Sean Alexander. Hasselbeck with some time, lofting this one for Morris, but overthrowing him.
That's a good play by Chad Williams that time. He got a bump on Maurice Morris as he was coming across the line of scrimmage and just threw off the timing on that route just a bit. And Hasselbeck, assuming that Morris got a free release, would be running a little faster than that, and he just simply couldn't catch up to it.
Meanwhile, Mother Nature has made liars of us again. 5 minutes before we came on the air, power was down. It was coming down sideways in sheets here, and we were expecting high winds. Instead, it's turned out to be a pretty pleasant night.
Big play here for Seattle as they try to get at least in field goal range.
Hasselbeck throwing and completing. Jeremy Stevens with a nice grab. Down just at about the 11-yard line. Chad Williams on the coverage.
You know, I think this is almost psychological. I really do. Because you got Matt Hasselbeck. He hit him a couple of plays ago.
Is it a catch? Watch it. Watch it.
All right. Oh, I think that thing hit the ground. It looked like as he was pulling this thing down, it goes right to the ground.
Incomplete.
And we have the flag out. Mike Nolan ran all the way out on the field. Remembering what happened in the opener this year with Nick Saban.
Just as we were about to compliment Stevens on a great grab.
Yeah, he dropped another one. They'll be booing retroactively here in a minute. There's no question about it. The ball hit the ground, though.
San Francisco is challenging the ruling on the field of the catch and the fact that it may have hit the ground.
At least when they boo, you'll be able to tell himself they're booing the reversal. We're pretty sure it's going to be overturned, but we'll take a break here. 4:07 to play in the first half. Seattle leading 7-0. We're back in Seattle, where this one is definitely going to be overturned. Morelli coming out from under the hood, but this is a good look at it.
Yeah, there's just not much doubt about that one. And I just don't know why Jeremy Stevens wants to make everything an overhand catch. When you do that in that type of play right there, if the ball falls, it falls to the ground. If you put your hands underneath the other way, you just cradle it into your chest.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field is incomplete pass. The ball hit the ground. It will be 4th down on the 36.5-yard line. Please set the game clock to 4:41, and San Francisco will not be charged a timeout.
And that leaves Mike Holmgren with a bit of a decision because he's facing 4th and 12 at the 36. If he were to try a field goal here, he's looking at 53 yards.
And I don't think you have a lot to fear from San Francisco on the offensive side, but there's no reason to take a chance here. You've got the game well in hand. Your defense is dominating play. And I just throw in, and really with 4:41 to go, if your defense continues to make plays, you get the ball back still in great field position.
Why give him an opportunity? And so Plaquemire is on to punt. He will try to land this one just inside the 5. Takes a hop into the end zone. And it'll come out to the 20. Gives us an opportunity to note that tonight's aerial coverage is brought to you by Under Armour. And that's one of those things in the meeting we said there's no way in the world they'll get anything aloft tonight. But the winds have not amounted to much just yet.
What happened to the 80-mile-an-hour winds and all the things that we were told? You know when it'll happen? When we board this red eye later on tonight, and then it'll be.
You know, all the local stations we were watching all day long, they were canceling evening activities in anticipation of these 60 and 80-mile-an-hour gusts. They look as dumb now as we do. 4:33 in the first half, and the 49ers have had nothing going their way on offense. This is Gore getting back across the 25 before Leroy Hill comes up to stop him.
Well, you can almost tell that Frank Gore is going to find Larry Allen. And I would too. You know, if you've got a future Hall of Famer like Larry Allen in front of you and your second best lineman, Eric Heitman, is out of the game, that time the play was designed to go right. He found Larry Allen and just ran right behind him, which is a good idea.
Gore now with 10 carries, just 26 yards on the night. He's just finding nothing up in there. And what's really interesting about this, as they now find themselves with 3rd and probably 2, is we were talking earlier about how physically we thought San Francisco's offensive line might be able to manhandle the front 4 of Seattle because there was such a disparity in weight. Seattle's front 4 averaging just 275 and San Francisco's front 5 averaging 311.
But you know what's happening is Seattle's using their speed to come around. That time Bryce Fisher looping around the backside beat Vernon Davis because there was a hole, but it just didn't materialize because they didn't get the backside block.
3rd and 1. And Gore pile drives his way across the 35, still on his feet, collecting tacklers before he's dragged down by a gaggle of gray-suited Seahawks.
And now it's going to get a little uglier than that.
Holiday greetings being what they are. One of them said Silent Night was a better song than O Little Town of Bethlehem, and somebody in white disagreed. Larry Allen in the middle of things. Why do I think if there was a fight, I would not choose up Larry Allen?
Larry Allen really the key once again here on this one. Just going to pull out in front. Get the trap block, really just kind of push the pile a little bit. Vernon Davis with a good block. I tell you what, this Frank Gore is all fight and all heart. There is a flag down on the field. That was a 3rd and 1, which they obviously picked up, assuming that this flag, although even if all this happened after the play out of bounds, even if it's a personal foul against San Francisco, it'd still be a 1st down. Probably offsetting. I can't imagine they're going to be able to pick out one person out of that little scrum. But
Mike Nolan pleading his case, and Mike Holmgren on the other sideline saying, "Come, somebody come talk to me."
After the play, there are fouls on both teams. Personal foul, number 21, offense. Personal foul, number 26, defense. The penalties will offset. Result of the play, 1st down.
Al Gore and Ken Hamlin, the guilty party, but it seems Marcus Trufant got away with one here.
Well, this is what led to the whole scrum here. And that would have been a 15-yard in addition face mask because he grasped the face mask, turned the helmet, and so Frank Gore, feeling like that he got abused on the play, started to fight back a little bit. The officials just missed that one.
Small victories being what they are, the 49ers have just scored their first down of the night.
And it was a big one, so now that hopefully they don't have to punt the football back.
Smith taking it down up the middle for a gain of, let's call it 4, before Rocky Bernard and Lofa Tatupu.
You know, it's interesting. Last year, Alex Smith was told to look 1, 2, and run. And this year, Norv Turner has been trying to say, listen, I want you to become a quarterback. I want you to go 1, 2, 3, or at least 1, 2, 3. Let's go through our progressions a little bit and discouraging from running as much. And I really think that's the right approach, because you have to begin to develop those quarterbacking skills.
49ers trying to get this one off before the 2-minute warning, and they will. The give is to Gore. Lofa Tatupu hitting him in the backfield and stopping him for no gain, perhaps a loss of 1. We've reached the 2-minute warning. Seattle Seahawks out in front of the 49ers, 7-0.
We'll hear a little bit of your Tony Romo conversation, Dion, to get us ready for Saturday.
Oh, Tony Romo at Valley Ranch is going to be a good one.
And Adam Schefter will give us the weather report. So, Bryant, it's Romo and weather together on the ones at the half.
We'll look forward to it, Rich. Thanks so very much. Back up top, the crowd is into it on what is a 3rd down for the 49ers. Seahawks looking to get one more possession before this half is done.
The weather's pretty good right now. Big 3rd down right now. This is the spot that Vernon Davis was drafted for. You know, he's the guy now on 3rd and 5 that they should be looking for.
Davis is lined up tight on the right. Smith underthrowing Antonio Bryant, and they'll give it up on downs.
Alex Smith that time just made a bad read. Arnaz Battle on a shallow cross coming across the field would have had an easy completion, an easy 1st down. He looked down the field. You have to find the situation here. You have to look for what this is. Coming straight across the field, there's plenty of room to get that ball to him quickly. Would have picked up the 1st down there.
Smith just 3 of 9 for 17 yards tonight.
Well, there's no reason to throw it for 17 on 3rd and 5 when you've got a guy that comes wide open.
This is a fake. Michael Robinson deep in the Seattle territory to the 20-yard line. The former Penn State quarterback on what was a direct snap. Caught the Seahawks napping.
Well, Michael Robinson, of course, kid that played quarterback at Penn State, and they're just such a versatile guy. They couldn't fit. He was a short yardage back for a little while. That didn't work out, but boy, when you get a chance to run a trick play, who better to give the ball to than him?
Pickup of 33, and the 49ers deep now in the Seattle territory at the 24. They're far the deepest penetration of the night. Smith.
See if they call
this
a force
is Battle
out.
Pushed out. They're going to call it a force out.
Yep, they sure did. That is completely at the discretion of the official. It is not reviewable. If he thought that Arnaz Battle would come down inbounds with possession of the ball, he is allowed to rule, even though neither foot comes down inbounds, that he would have made the catch. The force out's called there, not reviewable, and that's a 1st down.
Good call. Jordan Babineau.
Yep.
Pushing him out, but you could see that Battle almost got the toes down as it was.
Yep. I thought it was a good call, too.
And so after all that has gone wrong for them all night, we find ourselves 46 seconds left in the 1st half. And the 49ers have the ball down to the 10-yard line, and they're just a strike away from tying this ball game up.
And you can see Alex Smith's confidence growing. Mike Holmgren's disgusted. Thought he had the ball back in his possession.
The previous play is being reviewed.
Now, the only thing that can be reviewed on that was whether he maintained complete possession of the ball all the way to the ground. On that catch, he would have to catch it, go to the ground, not bobble it even slightly. If he bobbles this even slightly going to the ground, then it could be ruled incomplete. The force out cannot be reviewed, though. We'll see it from that
angle. Couldn't tell from there. This will be a better angle.
Oh, now
the ball
that
definitely shifted.
If the ball shifts just a bit, they will call that incomplete. The force out is not being reviewed. But if he doesn't maintain complete possession, and I've got to say, I don't think that he did there, they're going to rule that incomplete.
We got a bunch of former quarterbacks figuring in this drive. Arnez Battle, also a former quarterback himself at Notre Dame. Robinson, a former quarterback at Penn State. Here's another look at this.
Now, I know people at home are saying that's ridiculous. He just barely bobbled the ball. It's right on his chest. But when that ball comes out like that and he loses control for a fraction of a second, it's going to be called incomplete. And you're going to get to laugh at me when he calls it complete. But in my opinion,
I'm with you. I'm with you.
Based on what I know of that rule, that is going to be called incomplete.
That was so beautiful about Muhsin Muhammad's catch on Monday night when he went up in the corner of the end zone, grabbed it with the hands, and just kept it frozen there as he came to the turf.
Squeezes it. They are so strict with that rule of going to the ground after a catch. The same thing applies, obviously, catching the ball out of bounds in the end zone, whatever the case may be. But if there is the slightest bobble, the slightest turn of the ball, and I've been in arguments, you know, Mike Pereira, and you say, oh, how can that be? And he caught the ball, and come on, you know, give the receivers a break. But they have a very, very strict interpretation of that rule.
Strict interpretation on this one is that's not a catch.
Yeah, although, boy, I've been on the other end of these kind of calls, and it's not that obvious, but in my opinion, that will be incomplete.
After reviewing the play, the ruling on the field stands.
Told you.
Okay. I'm not sure how we arrive at that, but it's where we are.
Has to be conclusive evidence. Did the ball move? Okay.
He got an assist, it seems, from the ball boy who blocked the view a little bit, but you could see him slap his hands together above the ball.
There's no question that both his hands moved a bit off of that ball. Has to be conclusive. I guess that's what they're saying.
And we've put 10 seconds back on the clock. We're still inside a minute. Smith over the middle for Gore. This one falling incomplete, and we've got another flag.
Offense, 5-yard penalty, first down.
Procedural call against the Niners. It will remain first down, but they'll be pushed back to the 15.
And the 49ers have to take advantage here. They catch a break on that play, in my opinion. They convert on the fake punt. You're down here at the end of the half. You have to take a little momentum here.
What do you go with, though, Chris? I mean, in a night when nothing has worked from the line of scrimmage, what do you go with?
I still think Vernon Davis is the big guy that you hired for this situation.
Gore stutter stepping in the hole and going nowhere. Bryce Fisher and Rocky Bernard on the stop.
Yeah, and here comes the rain. You decide to go a little conservative on that play and try and pop one out of there with a draw. And it was Quayme Harris who completely missed the block there and didn't give Frank Gore a chance.
And the 49ers will take their second time out of the half. Here comes the rain.
In and out.
Every night, learn the latest news from around the league, hear directly from the players, and get a breakdown of the key matchups. You can do all that by watching NFL Total Access weeknights on the NFL Network.
Now the 12th man comes into play again as this crowd gets jacked up. Really plenty of time for the 49ers. They still have one timeout remaining.
The problem is less the clock than they've had no success with anything tonight from the line of scrimmage. This time Michael Robinson is in the backfield. Two quarterbacks behind center. Smith will look to throw, flush to the right. Keeps it inside the 10, going for the end zone. We've got a flag on the play. Preliminary signal is he was pushed out inside the 1. We've got a hold on San Francisco. This will come back.
10-yard penalty. Still second down.
Quayme Harris.
Nice couple of plays by Quayme Harris. Here's a guy that was a #1 draft pick, and He got the procedure call. Now he's got the hold on what would be a touchdown. Number 77 playing right tackle. Just gets pressed right back into the quarterback and really had no choice at that point than to hold Bryce Fisher. But Alex Smith was out around the corner. And what a block Vernon Davis put on the end of this play to send Alex Smith into the end zone. This takes Michael Boulware out of there.
Harris outweighs Fisher by 42 pounds, but Fisher bull rushed him. He'll swing it this side. Arnaz Battle going nowhere.
What a good play by Marcus Trufant on the outside. Boy, they have some cornerbacks in Seattle. Trufant had a terrible game last week, and I throw that one out. I've seen this kid play before, but between Marcus Trufant and Kelly Herndon and Kelly Jennings, they can play, and now the hurry-up comes for San
14
Francisco.
seconds. The 49ers will try to get in their playoff. This is Smith throwing incomplete for Vernon Davis, and with just 8 seconds left, Mike Nolan, we would assume, will send out his kicking team.
Well, disappointing because really the 49ers beat themselves on that play, and in particular, Quaim Harris beat the 49ers on that drive. Quaim Harris has some difficulty in a lot of areas blocking, but it's not a good sign when your big tackle gets jammed right back into your quarterback.
This will be a 39-yard field attempt. Joe Nedney seeing his first attempt of the night. Nedney splits the uprights. And still just a couple of ticks left in the first half. The 7-3 ball game. The 49ers have to consider themselves very fortunate to be 7-3 at this point.
Well, and I'll tell you the other thing, that when you have a running football team, it's always easier in the second half than it is the first half, because defensive linemen get a little tired. The linebackers aren't running quite as fast as they were in the first half. Typically, running teams are much more productive in the second half than they are in the first.
And while Frank Gore only has 34 yards on 14 carries in this half, it's worth noting that when they met just 3 weeks ago, Gore set a franchise record with 212 yards against this same Seahawks defense.
But the Seahawks tonight have come at him with a little different plan. There's been a lot of movement, a lot of attacking from the outside, the slower developing running plays. They're trying to use Larry Allen and pull him out in front. And the Seahawks are doing a nice job tonight with their speed on the outside of getting penetration from Lofa Tatupu and Bryce Fisher, and those guys, Julian Peterson, hitting them hard on the edge, and they've been able to catch these running plays from behind.
If you're the 49ers, you're just squibbing this one, aren't you?
Oh, probably. I don't think I'm kicking it deep.
Nedney will indeed just squib it. This is Burleson picking it up inside his 20, but he'll find a nice comfy resting place to bring the first half to a close. A half dominated offensively by the Seattle Seahawks, who only managed to put 7 points on the board. They're leading the 49ers 7-3. Let's go down to Rich Eisen.
Thanks so very much. The Wendy's halftime report is underway as
more coffee shops in town. I think you could take an entire tour of Seattle and never go outside and just go from one coffee shop to the next.
The most literate city in America. Did you know that?
It's a cool city.
It is a cool city. It is a cool city. But shame on the Seahawks for letting the 49ers stick around in this ballgame when the 49ers really have done nothing offensively.
You know, they haven't, but it's been that kind of year for Seattle. They have a way of making close games out of anything. And fortunately for them, they've been able to win almost all of those.
They're
close
4-0
games.
in those that are 3 points or fewer.
And what he's been able to do this season. But this is a key moment. I mean, right now, not only does Seattle need to win the game, but they need to start building something. I mean, Mike Holmgren's not interested in making the playoffs. He wants to win a Super Bowl. And so they have to really begin to get something going, some momentum going as they head on towards the playoffs. They're going to win this division. I mean, there's just no doubt in my mind they're going to win the division. But their goals, as always, are much bigger than that.
Joe Nedney set to get the second half underway. This is Burleson moving up to his own 9-yard line to field it. Breaking one tackle, Burleson crossing the 40, pushed out. at the 46-yard line. Nedney coming up and saving what could have been an opening touchdown.
And Nate Burleson probably hasn't had quite the impact from the receiving position that they had hoped for, but returning punts and kicks, he has had a dramatic impact on the special teams. A 39-yard return here, but he has very consistently in almost every game come up with those kind of plays.
That's Jay Foreman, who is down. This is a guy who was just signed last week when the 49ers released Tony Parrish.
And it just seems like it's gone that way for the 49ers. They trying to build something. They're trying to get better, trying to find young players that can make plays, guys like
and they are better.
Lawson.
They are better. I mean, this is a franchise really that only won 6 ball games the prior 2 seasons.
Well, and here's the other thing. Their salary cap was in horrible shape just a couple of years ago when Mike Nolan got here, and you'll see the impact, and as it is so often, friendly fire got him again. His own player whipped his legs into him. But the 49ers as a team right now feel really good going into this offseason. They think they've built something with these young players. They'll start to get some guys back healthy, but they have money to spend, and they are going to be very aggressive in free agency this year. They hope to have another good draft class and begin to build from there. Mike Nolan's really feeling pretty confident about where they're going with the franchise.
You know what, partner? Well, we've got a delay here. Let me touch on something. We've just seen another sloppy half of football, which has become our want on Thursday night. And it begs the question, at the risk of biting the hand that feeds us, this Thursday night schedule. We've heard coaches gripe about it. Mike Holmgren last week said it was like fighting City Hall. All the coaches tell us it's less a matter of the mental preparation than the physical part of it. The guys just aren't ready. Are we seeing evidence of it in the sloppy games that we are seeing on Thursday nights?
Well, of course, we've seen it for years on Thanksgiving, and it's been a big part of it. And it's always the deal that if you're the home team and you win, then you get 10 days off afterwards, and it's significant. I personally would prefer to see these games played earlier in the season for a lot of different reasons. One, I think it's easier on the players earlier in the season. And two, all the games would be more significant at that time of year, too.
Because they're still in it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting. And you, as I have, spoken to the players about it. And for example, Walter Jones, we asked him yesterday, said, when are you usually ready to play? He says, usually Friday before my body's back in shape. Well, he's out here tonight.
Yeah, but when it's earlier in the season, it almost becomes a positive because you essentially don't practice for the week of one of these games. Then the coaches usually give you 4 or 5 days off, and you come back, so your body has a chance to heal up. But at this late in the season, it doesn't do you much good.
Hasselbeck, pump fake, throwing and completing DJ Hackett once again. Boy, what a night he's having.
And they've been leaving Chad Williams, a safety, really in man coverage on DJ Hackett. And just watch some of the moves now. I mean, those are pretty sophisticated moves. And I love the little comeback to the ball at the last moment. He came out, faked to the out, curled back around to the inside, but he didn't stop when he saw the ball in the air to give Chad Williams a chance to get on it. He kept coming back to the quarterback, pretty polished.
Another first down for Seattle as Sean Alexander loses a couple. Keith Lewis enjoying a fine night here in Seattle.
There he is, killer again. And I'd love to see guys like this have success in this league because it's such a hard-knocking life to try and come up through special teams and have anybody anywhere notice anything that you do. And that time, Keith Lewis was probably 15 yards off the ball and came up and essentially made the play 2 yards back, deep in the backfield.
The word on Jay Foreman is a sprained right knee. His return is questionable at this point. It's 2nd and 12 for Seattle.
And that's Chuck Foreman's son. So we certainly wish him well.
Alexander working his way outside before being pushed out of bounds following the block of Max Strong. Strong, a 13-year veteran out of Georgia, and he is the prototypical lead fullback.
Yeah, and he really is the one constant out there. And for Jeremy Stevens, that's about as good a block as I've seen him make on the outside. Last year, there's a guy named Ryan Hannum here on this team. And almost to a man, when you talk to the Seattle Seahawks offensive side, they say that we really have missed a blocking tight end. They don't have one on the roster that can block like he did.
The Seahawks need 3 to keep the drive alive, and Hasselbeck completes this one to Deion Branch. First down, Seattle. Roderick Green pressured Hasselbeck and got there just a microsecond too late.
What a great play by Hasselbeck here. Just getting his feet set and throwing the football so quickly. He knew he was going to get pressure from the backside, had to get it out of there quickly. That's just an outstanding play from the quarterback.
Just got that one past the outstretched glove of Brandon Moore.
The key to it was how quickly he stopped and got the ball out.
Alexander pushed back. Keith Lewis once again coming up with a hit.
And those are called the defensive fits, the fills from the safety, and essentially there's nobody to block a safety on those plays. You can handle the 7, your 5, and the tight ends and the fullback, and that time Max Strong had a good block on the linebacker, but you can't account for that 8th guy. So every time in football you hear about the 8th guy coming down in the box, that's what they're talking about. There's one guy unblocked, and so far Keith Lewis has not missed a tackle.
Seneca Wallace is in the ball game. He is spread high to the left side. Hasselbeck throwing into the end zone, picked off. Mark Roman untouched, back up across the 25-yard line, fighting his way to the 27 before his forward progress is stopped.
Well, as good a play as the other one was, that one was that bad by Matt Hasselbeck.
Hasselbeck throwing into the end zone, Roman taking it and bringing it back. 49ers in business, trailing by 4. Following our first turnover of the game, an interception by Mark Roman, the 49ers will have the ball at their own 27-yard line. Smith will throw on first down, throw to the wide side, completing to Arnez Battle up near the first down marker.
This was some play by Mark Roman. You're going to see him essentially look off the quarterback. I don't know if that's an official NFL term or not. Jeremy Stevens is right here. Mark Roman is back here. And when he looks in at Jeremy Stevens, that means Matt Hasselbeck's going to turn out to DJ Hackett. But Mark Roman looked off Matt Hasselbeck and came up with the pick.
Good play by Roman.
Sure was.
Second and short for the Niners. This is Frank Gore. I don't think he got it. Grant Wistrom powering his way inside from his right defensive end position. Let's hear what Frank had to say.
Forcing the game. Now, you understand it now, right? Yeah. You understand it? Yeah. Okay. All right.
I think he said ouch. I tell you, it's really been a different story in there tonight with Eric Heitman out. This offensive line has not been nearly as good as they have been.
Third and short. See if the 49ers can get something out of this turnover. Gore again, and he's not going to get there. Wow. Great penetration inside by both Bernard and Wistrom on that right side.
Well, and Larry Allen got a decent push on the play on his guy, but there's just too many there to account for. They start to get a little bit of penetration. It looked like Chuck Darby inside got the penetration.
Actually from the opposite side.
And sort of disrupted it, and that's what we've seen tonight. It hasn't been the play side that's been making the play so much as it is the backside. They can't get those cutoff blocks, and they're paying the price for it. That's a huge defensive stand after the turnover by the Seahawks defense.
Especially when you consider the 49ers picked up 9 on first down.
Yep.
How about this? San Francisco 8 possessions tonight. They've had 7 3-and-outs. Andy Lee booms this one away, and Burleson will take it. Fair catch it. Why? We're not real sure.
Wow.
He had a 10-yard gap between himself and the nearest defender, but his team leads 7-3. Traffic for Sean Alexander. You take a look at the last 4 rushing champions and what happens the following year. Their drop-off is considerable.
Yeah, of course, Sean's missed a lot of games this year with that foot injury, too, to account for much of that.
He'll only pick up 2 there. Let's go on down to the field where Marshall Falk is standing by. Marshall, what do you make of that? Rushing leaders going backwards in the succeeding year.
What'd you say?
Marshall, do you hear me? I'm sorry.
I got you.
Okay, what's the deal? How do you see that? Rusher men leading the NFL in rushing one year and going backwards in the succeeding year.
You know, it's just injuries. And when you lose a guy like Steve Hutchinson to an offensive line that was so heavily and dominant running to the left side, and even when they ran right, he would cut the ball back left. That'll take yardage away from you. And not to mention, once you lead the league in rushing, that bullseye is on your back, and teams are looking forward to stopping you when you play against them.
Okay, but we've got a call here against San Francisco. It's going to result in the first down. Marshall, the change up front would account for, and the injuries would account for Alexander. So we look at that list, Ricky Williams, Jamal Lewis, Curtis Martin, and Sean. This is definitely a trend. You lead the league in rushing, and the following year you struggle.
Well, not to mention the high volume in carries, that when you're a guy that leads the league in rushing, you're going to get the ball a whole lot of times. And that next year, you kind of suffer from it because obviously your team will be going deep into the playoffs if you lead the league in rushing, if you have a lot of carries. So therefore, that next year you're gonna suffer from that. And like I said again, teams are going to try to stop you and make your team beat them other ways.
When you watch Alexander, does he seem to you a different back than he was a year ago?
I don't think that he's different. I think that the guys that he's had blocking in front of him, he's had, 2 or 3 different left guards, and at times they haven't been in sync. And when you miss time as a running back, when you come back, like we saw the first time that they played the 49ers, he wasn't as effective.
You know, Marshall, this is going to impact you, but do you think it's a risk to sign a contract for a running back that is plus 30? Because in general, they have not been that effective after 30.
You know, it's bad that it's like that, but that's kind of the case. But I think that Sean was the exception to that, because if you watch his style of running, a lot of people will say that he's afraid to get hit. To me, it's Sean being a smart runner. He's a guy that when he has to make contact, he'll get the tough yardage. But for the most part, he protects himself and understands that in this game it's all about longevity and how many yards you can gain.
All right, Marshall, thank you. Maurice Morris getting in for Sean Alexander and getting a first down as he follows the block of Max Strong just past the 45-yard line.
And Maurice Morris is one of those guys that he pounds it in for all his worth. I mean, he really, when he gets an opportunity, you see him slam his way in there. But Sean Alexander is exactly right. I thought Marshall described him very well. He's a guy that is going to preserve his body a little bit. When he gets in some piles, he's going to end up trying to split the defenders and go down and not take that direct hit. And a lot of times, and they talked about it, when he was out of the lineup this year, Maurice Morris was in the training room almost every week. I mean, he was just taking a beating with that style of running.
And here's a graphic that supports what you were talking about, Chris. This is runners over the age of 30 and how they have fared. Tiki Barber being the exception there, as well as Curtis Martin, but you don't see anybody past 31 on this list.
Yeah, but Tiki Barber has decided to retire on his own, and Curtis Martin basically has run himself out. And so it's always difficult when you give that third contract to a running back heading for 30. I'm not always in favor of that one.
Hasselbeck looking deep and overthrowing Deion Branch.
You know, but how do you not? You know what I mean? I mean, as a general manager, as an owner, I mean, here's a guy that was the MVP of the league a season ago. He carried your football team to the Super Bowl, set the touchdown record, and yet you almost have to be such a jerk to say, I'm not going to pay you because the history says...
But you do have to look at that history and say
exactly
that the
right.
odds are against me.
And it's tough, and you want him to sign a short-term deal, but he's earned that money. And he goes in and he said, wait a minute, I've given you everything I have, and if my body's beat up, it was beat up for you. And it's really one of the tough parts of being a general manager in the National Football League.
3rd and 8, Seahawks trying to keep the dream alive and drive alive, and Hasselbeck will be brought down in the arms of Isaac Sopoanga, getting his first sack of the night.
And once again, Hasselbeck looking for DJ Hackett on the outside. That time the coverage was there and nowhere to throw the football. That's become his first look. And then when that wasn't there, things began to break down after that.
I knew it was drive alive, not dream alive, by the way.
I just thought you thought it was a little bigger moment than I did, you know? Sort of an Olympic moment or something. I don't know.
Kind of a Jesse Jackson moment, I'm afraid. Blackemeyer boots it away. This one takes a Seattle bounce. Oliver Celestin downing it down at the 2-yard line. The 49ers backed up again with 5 minutes left in the third. The 49ers were backed up on their own 2-yard line, but the officials ruled that Celestin's left foot came in contact with the goal line, and so this one's been brought out to the 20. What do you think about that call?
Well, I don't know. Did his foot touch the line? I don't know that there's anything conclusive one way or another. We've seen just about every replay angle of it, and it's, again, we go back to the basketball rule. If the foot's on the line, you touch the ball, you're out of bounds. If the foot's in front of the line, you touch the ball, you're allowed to recover it, but there's nothing conclusive there.
In any event, 49ers will have 1st and 10 from the 20 instead of the 2. Smith swinging this side. Frank Gore upended by Julian Peterson. Woo.
And Julian Peterson was so fast, he ran right by Larry Allen. Larry Allen's out in front of this play and just couldn't catch Julian Peterson. And the 49ers are saying, tell me again why we let this guy get out of here on free agency. Just plows right into him. You're starting to see him every month now, starting to get back to the form that he had with the 49ers before the Achilles problem. Huge play there.
Loss of 4, and the crowd at Quest Field into it now. Smith over the middle. This is Gore again.
And Julian Peterson, when he played with the San Francisco 49ers, I think he played almost every position on the field. There was a game in which he played safety, he's been lined up at corner. He's just one of those all-purpose kind of guys, can run with anybody on the football field. A real talent. Some questions, could he come back all the way, but I think he's proven tonight.
He was the ultimate hybrid before we coined the term.
Yep.
Big third down for Smith and the 49ers. He's looking long. This one's batted down. Julian Peterson again.
And Rocky Bernard is going to have a chance to pick this one out of the air. Julian Peterson coming on the stunt inside, gets his hand on the ball, and then Rocky Bernard, I believe it is, no, that was Lofa Tatupu over there, who almost came up with the interception.
Another 3 and out for the 49ers. Now 8 of 9 possessions have been 3 and out. Another line drive punt. Burleson will try to return this one from his own 36, trying to get to the outside, and Brian Jennings won't let him. Jennings, the long snapper, being a monster on special teams tonight. With 3:37 to go in the third period. Seahawks in front, 7-3.
Julian Peterson has been everywhere tonight, that time coming through and fighting off the block of Maurice Hicks and still able to get his hand up to knock this one down. About as good of defensive plays back-to-back as you're going to see out of a linebacker in this league. Julian Peterson having a monster night.
Once again, the Seahawks enjoying good starting field position, this time from their own 37. Alexander Stutter stepping his way across the 40. Melvin Oliver, the rookie out of LSU, getting there with the stop.
Let's give a little credit to the San Francisco 49ers tonight as well. Defensively, they've stepped up. They've been playing without Derek Smith. They've been making plays, getting plays out of Marcus Douglas, Melvin Oliver. Bryant Young's been making plays. They've been tough tonight.
And Keith Lewis, who's had a great
has had a great game.
Give Alexander a gain of 3. Hasselbeck throwing this side for Jeremy Stevens. Not the crowd favorite.
Well, he is after that play. Nice job with the pickup on this one. Really, the 49ers just coming with a 4-man rush. Bryant Young got there just a fraction late. And Jeremy Stevens, I don't know why, I kind of find myself holding my breath every time the ball comes to him. I mean, I don't even cheer for Seattle. I don't even know what it would be like for Mike Holmgren or the fans.
Gets the Seahawks cross midfield and into San Francisco territory. When last they were down here, Hasselbeck threw a pick. Hasselbeck flushed out again, dumping it off on the right side. That time Brandon Moore applying the pressure.
And that was a good read that time by Matt Hasselbeck. There would have been a lot of young quarterbacks would have thrown an interception in that situation. Shante Spencer looked like he was going to back off in coverage. All of a sudden he stopped short, and Hasselbeck pulled the ball down just in time. And I think he's saying if they come down in that coverage, you turn it into a slant. Remember, you've got a bunch of receivers that really don't know this offense all that well. You had Deion Branch, who came over from New England. Nate Burleson came over from Minnesota. And Burleson's probably struggled to pick this thing up more than anybody.
Strong and Alexander in the backfield. We've got a whistle before the snap. Procedural calls, preliminary indication.
False start, number 71, offense. 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Don't forget, every Sunday, Steve Mariucci and Deion Sanders join Rich Eisen for NFL Game Day. See highlights and analysis of every game. NFL Game Day, that's Sunday nights immediately following the NBC game.
You do a nice job with that show.
You talking about the NBC game?
Both, how about that?
Okay, that's fair. Hasselbeck looking deep for Deion Branch. Incomplete.
So many times you see quarterbacks and receivers after a cornerback has jumped a route. We talked about Shante Spencer jumped the route before that, so they said fine. They go with the double move, a little slant and go. The crowd's going to get a chance to see that one, and it looked like there was a little contact from Walt Harris before that ball came in there. I'm not sure that Deion Branch would have caught it anyway, but there was some contact.
It's contact on the right bicep, and the ball sailed over the left shoulder. Leaves the Seahawks with a 3rd and long. Hasselbeck will try to get it all, was going for Stevens, incomplete. And the punting unit will be brought back out again.
That's a tough play. It was a good play by Hasselbeck there. He threw it the only spot that he had a chance for Jeremy Stevens. Really kind of ran in behind a linebacker in coverage, and then by the time he was able to arrow back out of the route, it just didn't have time, Hasselbeck didn't, to get the ball there to him. And I think that's probably what they're talking about on the sideline, going, hey, come on. I used to hear that from Boomer and Kenny Anderson. Hey, I'll have all day. You got to get that thing done.
Plaquemire gets this one away. Brandon Williams will let it sail over his head into the end zone. We've got a flag. We'll stay here.
We got a personal foul. Excuse me, an unsportsmanlike foul. Number 26, the receiving team. Player went out of bounds and blocked while the ball was in the air.
That was Mark Roman, the guilty party, and it'll be half the distance. We'll come back in just a moment. Seattle leading 7-3. The city of Seattle, where you're watching in HD as the 49ers go against the Seattle Seahawks. This 49er drive, like so many this evening, starting deep in their own end. They're backed up to their own 10-yard line. 1:50 to play in the 3rd period. Frank Gore is the lone back. He'll get it. Following the block of Larry Allen, looking for room, struggling his way to the 13-yard line. Ball comes loose, but after he was down.
Well, Larry Allen, once again, they're sort of reduced to one scheme here, and that's following Larry Allen almost no matter where he goes. He has been the lead at the point of attack on almost all of these plays in the second half, and that time actually got enough of them to allow them to turn up the field. This has been a pretty rough night for this offense.
The 12th man here at Quest Field getting into it. That fake fooled no one. Smith flirting with his own goal line. Again, that was Julian Peterson applying the pressure.
And Jordan Babineau just absolutely perfect in his coverage. Oof. Peterson, of course, made the play on the screen, deflected the ball, really has been all over, and believe me, Alex Smith is not going to outrun Julian Peterson.
What a strange ball game, Chris. One team has 18 first downs, the other one has 3. One team has 158 yards passing, the other one has 51. And yet they're only separated by 4 points on the scoreboard. 49ers 1 for 11 on third down tonight. Make it 2 for 12. Completes this one to Antonio Bryant, his first catch of the night.
And we get a late flag down on that one as well.
Looks like this one's going to go against Seattle. Everything's a conference now.
No question.
After the play, personal foul. Number 69, offense. Since the offense made a first down, after the penalty for half the distance, result will be 1st and 10, San Francisco.
That was Tony Raggi, the substitute guard who has been pressed into service at center after Eric Heitman broke his leg in the first period.
We can pick it up here at the end of the play.
There it is, blocking the back.
Okay.
On Kelly Herndon.
All right.
Didn't look like much.
Foul, huh? They don't like guys coming in and picking off people off the pile, and for the 49ers, they pick up a first down and lose yardage on the play. It's kind of been the way it's been going.
We're inside the 42nd mark in the third period. 49ers trailing 7-3. Once again backed up, this time on their own 13-yard line. Smith trying something down the far sideline for Arnaz Battle, completed. Kelly Herndon on the coverage.
Wow, what a throw that time by Alex Smith. After the pump fake, he stood flat-footed and threw that thing almost 60 yards in the air. And Arnaz Battle, he was talking about, here's a former quarterback, and I'm not sure that Herndon really believed that he could get it out there that far. 54 yards on the play, but when you take into consideration that he's standing about 7 yards behind, what a throw.
49ers with their best penetration of the second half. We'll start the fourth quarter when we come back.
Seasons in, there comes a shine.
The 49ers with their biggest play of the night, a 54-yard strike to Arnaz Battle. He held on to it.
He did. That's the way you're supposed to hold on to it when you go out of bounds on that other play, too.
We know you were right before.
Thank you.
Frank Gore pushing inside the 30. What a weird ball game. Bad as San Francisco has played. We start the fourth period. They're inside the 30. And with a score, they can take the lead.
But, you know, now that the weather is better, we're seeing a better Alex Smith, too. Early on, he was struggling.
Look at that, will you? Only team in the NFL without a drive of 80-plus yards. Touchdown drive. Smith flush to the high side will get a first down as he gets up to about the 22-yard line. Julian Peterson once again applying the pressure and forcing him out of the pocket.
Yeah, but that was a nice job that time by Jonas Jennings, the left tackle. Julian Peterson was coming up the field, and Jennings essentially just let him take his speed and his body weight that way, and they had a slide protection coming back down to the inside. Everybody got picked up on the blitz. That time Lofa Tatupu picked up by Moran Norris. And there was just a big hole to run.
And suddenly the 49ers have back-to-back first downs. Smith will throw on first down, in and out of the arms of Frank Gore. NFL Network re-airs the 4 best games from the weekend, adding coach and player commentary. Watch NFL Replay. That's Tuesdays and Wednesdays, 2 games per night, only on NFL Network.
If I have one beef with Alex Smith, sometimes when things get tight, he wants to scramble to his right. In college, that's the kind of thing that can work. In the NFL, those defensive linebackers are usually faster than the quarterbacks, and you end up cutting the field in half and not having much room to operate.
Maurice Hicks is in. Frank Gore is out. This is Hicks. He'll get little, if anything, on the right side. Leroy Hill standing him upright and pushing him back.
They're just not cleaning up the backside on these plays. That time, Larry Allen came around with a nice block. I think it was Norris, the fullback, had another nice block. At the point of attack, they're doing fine, but what's happening is the Seahawks are too quick and they're catching them from the backside. They're bringing their safeties in there. That time, Ken Hamlin was able to catch it from the backside. So either they have to go quicker or begin to shorten up the pace and go more directly at the Seahawks.
And the 49ers will call their first time out of the second half. We'll take a break with him as Frank Gore gets some encouragement. I knew I'd do it once tonight. We're back in a moment. Back for what is a crucial third down for the 49ers. 12:52 to go in the ball game. They're trailing by 4, but have it deep in Seattle territory.
I think I would spy Alex Smith on this play. He makes a lot of plays running.
Smith firing and completing. Tuarnez Battle gets him inside the 10-yard line. They'll be first and goal.
That was his best play of the night right there, and I'll tell you why. Watch him step up into the pocket. So many times tonight we've seen him move laterally. That time he trusted his protection. He stepped up into the pocket, found the receiver, put it where only he could catch it. Best throw of the night right there.
You look at the numbers, it's hard to believe the 49ers are about to possibly take the lead after the night they've had. This is Gore getting back to the line of scrimmage, being stopped there by Lofa Tatupu, second-year man out of SC.
Ken Hamlin there as well. You just can't beat these guys to the corner. They're trying to pull their offensive linemen, but the Seahawks defensively are built around speed. And you have Hamlin coming up from the safety position. You have Lofa Tatupu coming from around the edge. Frank Gore is never going to beat them to the corner.
The 49ers are attacking what is the closed end of this field, and the noise is reverberating down there. This crowd prides itself on the noise they can generate. Smith into the end zone, touchdown. San Francisco, the rookie, Vernon Davis. And just like that, the 49ers have taken the lead.
Frank Gore going to come on the outside edge here and come up with a big block that's going to give Alex Smith the opportunity to get out around the outside. And really, Vernon Davis was just simply wide open working against Babineau.
And with this, Vernon Davis runs afoul of the rules. They're saying he used the pylon in the back of the end zone as a prop by putting his feet on it, and so he has incurred a penalty.
There you go. I didn't see it. Vernon Davis said they didn't have that rule in college.
That's what Mike Nolan just explained to him on the sideline and said, we can live without that, son.
That's the old Chad Johnson rule.
Joe Nedney makes it a 10-7 ball game, and after all that has gone wrong tonight for the 49ers with 11:24 in this ball game, they've scored their first touchdown of the night, and they lead by 3. Big drive for San Francisco, their longest touchdown drive of the year. 11 plays, 90 yards, consumed 526. How about 67 of those yards credit to Tuarnez Battle?
Alex Smith's the best I've ever seen him. You know, I've watched a bunch of tape on him. That drive's the best I ever saw. He went deep. He showed his arm strength off. He made the big third down conversion, and then on the rollout there, completes the touchdown, his best drive.
And so Nedney is backed up to his own 20 to kick off. Seattle will come out of this with good field position no matter what. This is a live ball. Burleson's got it, and he's got running room up the left side. Burleson getting it back to the 33-yard line before Mike Adams pushes him out. And how big does that penalty to Vernon Davis look now?
Absolutely. But this is another one of those situations you just give the Seattle Seahawks a chance. And Nate Burleson, great job going up and picking up that ball and finding the lane. What a difference he has made on special teams for these guys. They were really struggling both punt and kickoff return, and the reason they got it, there it was, put his foot up there. You remember Chad Johnson last year used it like a putter, a la Tiger Woods or whatever, changed the rule this year, and Vernon Davis didn't get the memo.
He could have done the bird dance. He just shouldn't have put his foot on the pylon.
Yeah. Costly. We've seen it so many times this year. Really significant penalties over wanting to celebrate.
What a great kid he is.
Wanting to get on the highlight shows, all the different things.
I had a chance to visit with him yesterday. He's the oldest of 7. And, I mean, talk about a man-child. The guy is what, 6'5", 250, and he runs a 4.37 40.
And blocks. Wow. That's what I like about him. He blocks.
This one will come up just short of the first down. Jeremy Stevens with another catch. Jeremy Stevens having a fairly decent night.
Yeah, he really is. And Matt Hasselbeck said, you know, this guy is just a freak physically. I mean, we have to build his confidence. And he really doesn't like it when Mike Holmgren yells at him on the sideline. He says this guy goes in the tank. So as soon as Holmgren yells at him, I go over and tell him how good he is. And so he's just constantly trying to build him up to build that confidence.
3rd and short for the Seattle offense. This is Alexander. And he didn't get back to the yellow line, which, if we haven't noted before, is unofficial. This spot looks like it'll be short by at least a foot. Marcus Douglas with the stop.
And that always had been the money side right there. It was all last season as Sean Alexander went for the MVP and the rushing title and all that went along with it. And I just can't imagine that Mike Holmgren's not going to go for this if it does come up short.
We'll get our first measurement of the night, and it will be short, it would appear.
Yep, a little short, and I think they're going for it here.
Hasselbeck is coming back on the field. They will indeed go for it. With 9:54 left in the ball game and trailing 10-7.
Matt Hasselbeck was talking about how much they missed Steve Hutchinson. He said, forget what he did on the field. That guy controlled our locker room. Anybody that whined or complained, Hutchinson was always right in their face, and we have not really filled that void on this offense.
I never knew he was that vocal a guy.
He's that big a guy for sure,
oh,
but
yeah.
I still think they run left here. That's been their money side for a long time.
4th and short. The up back is strong. It'll depend on the spot.
I don't think he got it, and that was an unusual formation. They had Sean Alexander flanked off to the left and turned around and gave it to Max Strong.
Was that Keith Lewis getting there first?
Up over the top was Brandon Moore. Caught it from the backside was Manny Lawson, their #1 draft pick. The penetration, and there's just nowhere to go for Max Strong. I don't think he got it.
From that angle, he wouldn't appear to have. No. Seattle turns it over on downs. 49ers with a big stop with 9:37 to play in the 4th.
There it is again. We've talked about the running game, and this team a season ago, that's an automatic conversion. I mean, it just really is behind Hutchinson and behind Walter Jones. And
look at Mike Singletary. He knows a thing or two about stopping them on 4th, doesn't he?
Remember the game back when the 49ers were just blown out by the Chicago Bears?
41-10, wasn't it?
At halftime, it was like 41-0. They said Singletary went absolutely berserk in the locker room and really sort of propelled them to that 3-game winning streak after that.
And so the 49ers take over on downs with a chance to eat the clock. Smith scrambling up the middle for about 2. Don't forget, we're going to come back with another game inside 48 hours. Playoffs are on the line Saturday night when the 8-5 Dallas Cowboys travel to Atlanta to face the 7-6 Falcons. Action kicks off Saturday night, 8 o'clock Eastern Time, only on NFL Network. Who you like in that one?
Dallas Cowboys.
Do you really?
I do.
Even in Atlanta?
I do.
Why? Because they stunk so much the other night?
Yeah, you got banged up running backs, and you don't expect the Dallas Cowboys and Bill Parcells to lay 2 eggs in a row.
I saw the Falcons sign running back Jamal Robertson because Norwood and Donner indeed banged up. This is Gore.
We talked about Alex Smith and what he did that last drive. I just thought it was the best stuff I've ever seen out of him. Standing flat-footed, threw one about 60 yards down the field to Arnaz Battle. Then on a big 3rd down and 10 or 11, converts that one running. Comes back again and hits the touchdown to Vernon Davis. A lot of good stuff from that young quarterback on that drive.
He's facing a 3rd and 3 here, with a chance to keep the momentum on his side and perhaps silence this crowd.
See if Norv lets him throw now. Might have a little confidence in him. Yes, sir.
He'll throw it and complete it to Antonio Bryant, his 2nd catch of the night. Bryant looked like he bobbled it, but hung on as Marcus Trufant wrapped him up.
Big 1st down there, and for Antonio Bryant, how would you describe him? Volatile?
Difficult?
A little difficult.
Persnickety?
All those kinds of things, but when he's between the white lines, he's a tough guy. I watch him play. Maybe not the blazer, maybe not a true #1 receiver, but you can't intimidate him. You're not going to scare him, and he wants the ball in big situations. That's all you can ask out of a wideout.
Bryant, Mike Nolan yesterday said, sometimes he's worked for me.
Yeah.
A reverse, Battle. Picking up a block from Smith, finding some running room down the sideline before Julian Peterson pushes him out. Good pickup for the Niners. And suddenly this offense seems to have found a rhythm in the 2nd half.
Boy, a lot of good blocks down the field there. Alex Smith out in front got one. Justin Smiley got another. And how about the call by Norv Turner? You're thinking, okay, we know what's coming. We know what's coming. Julian Peterson, so quick, he was almost all the way across the field and just couldn't catch back up.
1st and 10 from the 43-yard line. Frank Gore behind Larry Allen yet again, getting to the 39 before Ken Hamlin stops him. Arnaz Battle with that rush picked up 18 yards. How about his night? 5 catches for 97, 1 carry for 18.
Yeah, I talked to Alex Smith about him, and he said this guy is so underrated. Former quarterback, he understands what I'm seeing. He knows what I'm going through in the pocket, has a knack for finding the open slot, and then you saw him go deep on the one for the biggest play of the night. Completely changed this game, that long catch of his.
Frank Gore is the lone back behind Smith. He'll get it. Looking for a block, but he'll come up 3 yards shy of the 1st down marker.
Larry Allen's going to go over and ask if he's trying out for the cross-country team tonight. I mean, on every single play, they have had number 71 at the point of attack, and Julian Peterson's probably a little tired of seeing him come around the corner, too. I was on the field one time for a Dallas Cowboys game. Saw him turn the corner and come down on a safety, and I was thinking, if I were that safety, I would have turned and run towards me.
He's a big man, 6'3", 325, now in his 13th year out of Sonoma State, and certainly headed for the Hall of Fame. Big 3rd down here for Smith and the Niners. Gore will get the 1st down, breaks through to the 25-yard line, brought down to 23 by Michael Boulware. And the 49ers are eating up this clock.
I think Larry Allen's going to have to go to the filling station and get a fill. He's wearing down, forget it. For Frank Gore, we talked about it before the end of the 1st half. The running game has a way of getting going in the 2nd half as guys get worn down.
We're down to 5:15 to go, and the 49ers clinging to a 3-point lead. This stat. 3rd down conversions, San Francisco started 1 for 11. They have converted on their last 4.
Really, two entirely different halves, hasn't it been? And that's the best defense for Sean Alexander. Leave him right over there.
And we're moving inside the 5-minute mark. 49ers eating the clock and leading by 3. This is Gore. Shedding one tackler. Getting to the 15-yard line. That was Lofa Tatupu who thought he had him wrapped up, but Gore left him. Coming up next, the Home Depot postgame show. Join the entire Total Access crew. They'll have highlights and analysis and postgame interviews as well.
Boy, what a great example of the strength of Frank Gore. Lofa Tatupu was all over him, and he just shook him. Get off. Picked up 9 yards. What a run.
It is imperative for the Seahawks that they limit the 49ers to no more than a field goal this trip. Even then, they'll have their work cut out for them. Smith will throw this one away and be left with 3rd and 1. Okay, now we've talked about Seattle needing this to clinch the crown, and we've kind of a division crown. We've kind of assumed that if they don't do it tonight, they will do it. But it does.
Yeah, but
that we do have to say that should San Francisco win tonight and win out, and Seattle not score another victory, San Francisco could still win this division.
Seattle has to go to San Diego next week and then fly across the country to Tampa Bay in a 1-game, who knows, anything could happen. San Francisco gets Arizona and at Denver, and of course Denver's struggling now.
Biggest down of the ball game, 3rd and 1. Gore, 1st down. We've got a delay of ouch.
Oh, boy.
5-yard penalty remains.
Ouch.
3rd down.
There was a chance to move inside the 4-minute mark, get a fresh set of downs, and instead they'll be looking at 3rd and 6.
And that's all on Alex Smith. You can't put it any other way. He has his primary job to get up there, check the play clock, find out when it is. If need be in that situation, take a timeout, give your team an opportunity. And now everything changes. The wide receivers come in, the tight ends and the fullbacks go out, and here we go.
This is so reminiscent of a game the 49ers had against St. Louis, in St. Louis, where they had a 3rd and short, failed to make it, kicked the field goal, minute and a half left. Rams came down and scored and won the ball game. High snap. Smith sheds a tackler. Looking and completing, touchdown, Frank Gore. What a play by Smith. Got out of the arms of, I think that was Kelly Herndon. Shook Herndon and found Gore down the sideline for a touchdown.
One of the best plays I've seen this season. First of all, the snap is high, he makes that play. Now he avoids Herndon, gets his wits back around him, scrambles out, finds the open receiver. You can't get better than that out of a quarterback. I don't care who you want to talk about. One of the plays of the season right there by Alex Smith.
Boy, nice catch by Gore, too.
What a second half he has had. Outstanding stuff.
Nedney gives the 49ers a 10-point lead with 4:01 play in the ballgame.
Wow. Well, you've seen it. I've heard people tell me about him, what he can be, what he could be. There it was right there.
And a beautiful night for the 49ers. How about Alex Smith? First half, 5 of 12, just 38 yards. Second half, 9 of 13 for 124 and 2 touchdowns.
Wow.
This one's bobbled by the up man, Marcus Weeks, and he gets tattooed at the 32.
Now, I just don't know what else you can do on a play like this. Catches a snap, which means he's completely thrown off any kind of a read, shakes Herndon, comes out, and Frank Gore did a great job of turning back up the field and finding the open spot, but Herndon just had him dead to rights there. I mean, that's an easy sack, lets him go, and Smith just turns it into one of the most magical plays of the season. Watch Gore working outside. Julian Peterson really got lost. He didn't know whether to come up and try and tackle Alex Smith or not. Frank Gore found the blind spot in behind him.
The Seahawks are trailing by 10, but they have 4 minutes and 3 timeouts left. Hasselbeck starts the drive with a completion to Deion Branch.
And Keith Lewis going to rough him up. There's plenty of time here for the Seattle Seahawks. They're in their 4-minute offense now. Plenty of time to make something happen.
Hasselbeck sliding up inside. Looking deep, tripped is Nate Burleson. Shante Spencer coming up with the pick, and the crowd wants a call.
Won't get it. Won't get it.
This one's going to go the other way.
Tangled feet is not pass interference as long as both players are looking for the ball, going and running and just playing the football. If their feet get tangled, it is not pass interference.
Okay, but I'm going to pick a fight with you there. That was a little more than feet tangled. That was kind of cutting off his route.
I agree with you. When I first saw it, I thought their feet got tangled, but he gave him a shot in the back and knocked him off that football. Second look, I think that should have been pass interference. Let's take a look. Was it the feet getting tangled, or did he knock him in the back? It looked to me, unless the contact. Oh boy, I tell you, that's a pretty rough one to live with for a Seattle Seahawks fan right there.
And so with 3:27 to play, the 49ers will take it over. We would expect a heavy dose of Frank Gore. Oof. Gore laying a lick on Jordan Babineau as he came up to make the stop.
One thing that's not a pleasant thing is to get in a conversation with Seahawks fans about the officials. Of course, after the Super Bowl, we've got a timeout on the play there. And Frank Gore just pounding his way through. This is what this young man's been doing all year. People hate coming up and trying to tackle him late in the game.
And so with 3:20 to play, we take a look at both these clubs and the direction they're headed. For the 49ers, this stops a 3-game skid. And for the Seahawks, this is more trouble. They have been nothing if not inconsistent this year. Started the season winning 3 and then lost 3 of their next 4. Then won a couple, and ever since then it's been loss, win, win, loss.
And for Alex Smith, the turnaround has been dramatic. During the 3-game winning streak, when they got to 5-5, he completed 70% of his passes, a touchdown, interception, a rating of 84. During the 3-game losing streak that took him to 5-8, only 48% of his passes complete, 3 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, and a 45 rating. So he has clearly been up and down, and when he's good, the 49ers are good.
This is Gore again, getting a first, working his way to the 40-yard line, carrying tacklers with him. Man, the kid runs hard.
I know it's a judgment call, and I've had this argument before with officials, and they're good people and they do their best and all that sort of thing, and I don't like to dog them. But I just feel like that the pass interference call is one that changes games, and it's one that they should be allowed to review. If they want to take another look at that one and decide, was it the feet that got tangled as I thought originally? Was it the bump in the back? Exactly what happened. 50-yard penalties, 50-yard plays should fall under the review.
Okay, but even if I accept that, Chris, and I don't necessarily disagree with you, wouldn't you make games 4 hours long if you did that?
Well, you get how many challenges? You get 2, maybe 3.
This is Gore. Nobody in front of him. Caught from behind. Leroy Hill. And after struggling for much of the night, Gore has now gone over 140 for the night. With that, his 27th carry. I'm sorry.
Little fake play here. Larry Allen this time is going to pull out, and they're going to end up going right where he left. So the Seattle Seahawks have seen it all night long. All you got to do is follow Larry Allen. That time Larry Allen left, and Frank Gore went back to where he was.
Give Gore 40 on the carry. He's got 27 carries, 142 yards in the night to go with 4 catches for 34 yards and a touchdown. Pretty productive, I'd say.
Really is, and what a job tonight by Larry Allen and this offensive lineman. They lose Eric Heitman early in the game, have to bring Raggy in the game, just try and do something creative, and Norv Turner has been terrific in simplifying this game plan.
We'll come back. 49ers up by 10 at the 2-minute warning.
Engineered to the highest standard, professional grade.
2 minutes to play here in Seattle, where the 49ers will just try to eat up what's left of the clock. This is Gore Stutter stepping his way inside. What a night he's had. What a half he's had. 13 carries in the second half, 108 yards. He's got 355 yards against these guys in 2 games.
He's really an incredible story. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but so many injury problems he had to overcome. He blew out his ACL at the University of Miami in the spring of '02, came back in '03, then blew out the ACL in his other knee, the 5th game of '03, came back his senior year, had a good senior year, ends up getting picked in the 3rd round. But I don't think that anybody could have anticipated the impact that Frank Gore was going to have on the NFL this season.
And he's not a big guy.
He is just determined. I mean, here's a guy that could have made any number of excuses for why life wouldn't work out for you. He has overcome them all. The learning disability, dyslexia, all the different things.
Knee surgeries.
The family issues he's had. And all he ever wants to do is say hi to his mom, do something good for her. She has struggled certainly with her own dialysis, that she's been waiting for a kidney transplant. God love him. He just loves his family and has overcome everything to be a star in the NFL, and I love it.
2nd down following a Seattle timeout.
And after that love story, you have to talk about the Seattle Seahawks, because this has been a disaster. To lose at Arizona last week, to turn around now at home against San Francisco and get beat again, and a horrible offensive performance by the Seahawks
well,
tonight.
And you know you've got to wonder what's going on with this club, and it's more than just, oh, we've had some injuries. We're inside 150. We'll be back in a moment following this timeout. And had 8 3-and-outs, and yet the Seahawks could only lead by 4 at the break. And
look who's going to walk in the end zone.
Look at this.
Oh my goodness.
That's embarrassing.
Oh my goodness. What a call.
Wow.
By Norv Turner. A completely naked bootleg.
There wasn't anybody in the vicinity.
Everybody just assumes they're going to try and run out the clock. They can make it look at
I
Norv.
hope we've got a wide shot on that Gonzo.
Oh, they're laughing.
That's unreal.
There was not one defender on that play that had even the
there was nobody
slightest
inside
clue
the hash marks
of what happened on that play.
There was nobody outside the hash marks on that
Remember
side.
the old Joe Namath play?
Yeah,
where
I do.
nobody expected anything?
Look at this.
Do the fake?
Nobody outside the hash.
I mean, that is the most running room I think I've ever seen on a football field. Boy, Norv Turner has done a tremendous job with this offensive team. He has helped Alex Smith grow, and you just have to wonder if they can begin to put together a few more pieces to the 49ers begin to return to where they once were.
Okay, but they may be going in one direction. Let's talk about Seattle, because when we came on the air, we said, hey, this is a team, if they get in the tournament, could do some damage. They certainly don't look like it tonight.
No, they really don't. And the problem, in my opinion, I thought defensively until this avalanche starts here at the end of the game, defensively they played fine tonight. But you expect with Mike Holmgren, and you expect with Matt Hasselbeck and Sean Alexander and Walter Jones, you're talking about some of the best offensive football players in the game. They go out and get Nate Burleson. They get a Deion Branch. You're thinking, all right, this is a team that's really going to take off here as they all sort of come together. And tonight, you can't blame the weather. The weather has been fine here in the second half. They have just simply been terrible on the offensive side. And when they don't run the football, they don't look like the Seattle Seahawks that went to the Super Bowl a season ago.
How about these numbers? Seattle's last 3 drives, all touchdowns. 11 plays, 90 yards. 10 plays, 73 yards. 6 plays, 86 yards. That's staggering.
Against a team that didn't have an 80-yard drive all season coming in tonight?
Really?
Yep. Well, it's been that kind of year in the NFC, and trying to figure out who it is that might come out of that pack. Certainly the Chicago Bears are the favorites. There's no question about it. Look at you. You're all happy. I know you're a big Bears fan.
I was about to break into song again, but only once a week.
There you go. And they become even more overwhelming. Seattle went in there earlier this season, got completely blown out by the Chicago Bears team. So, you know, if it's not the Dallas Cowboys, I'm not sure who's next in line. Saints looked pretty good the other night, though, against that Cowboys bunch.
Nedney will kick it away, and Burleson will get another chance. Breaks through to the second level before he's swarmed under at midfield. Mark Roman with the stop, and Alex Smith suffered through a terrible, terrible first half. But look at the composite numbers he's managed to assemble.
And I thought that throw to Arnaz battle was the one that seemed to jumpstart this entire offense. Once they hit that one play over the top, the Seahawks defensively weren't nearly as aggressive with their safeties coming down. They weren't able to play the run quite so well. That one big play just seemed to give him confidence and back off the Seahawks.
Hasselbeck completing to Deion Branch. Gets them inside the 30. Seahawks in a hurry up. But they're down by 17 with just 1:20 left to play. A lot of time from behind. Hasselbeck in the arms of Roderick Green. Should the Seahawks fail to score again tonight, their 7 points scored here at home would be their fewest since November 3rd of 2002, when they lost to the Redskins 14-3.
And Mike Holmgren went crazy on his team when they lost in San Francisco the last time. You have to wonder what he's thinking right now. Whoa!
Deion Branch gets lit up, and a flag is dropped on Keith Lewis.
Guess who?
Oh!
I guess they're going to call that helmet-to-helmet contact on a defenseless receiver.
Personal foul. Unnecessary roughness, number 28. Defense. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
You agree with the call?
Well, I'd like to see it one more time to make sure.
This
was
is
the
at
ball
real speed.
Clearly by the receiver. Was it helmet-to-helmet contact? I think that's what they get him for there. If it's helmet-to-helmet contact on a defenseless player, it's going to be 15 yards. But Keith Lewis has been sending messages all night long, and I don't think anybody on San Francisco's sideline is complaining about that particular act.
Lewis has had a great night. Hasselbeck getting pressure. Whistle will blow as we've moved inside 36 seconds and counting. Sopoanga again getting credit for the stop. Manny Lawson was back there with him.
And man, when you have an intimidating safety back there, it just makes a difference. Roy Williams, Ronnie Lott, you go right down the list.
Hasselbeck throwing for the far corner, out of bounds. He was going for Nate Burleson. Shante Spencer defending over there. And arguably his play was the big one of the night, the interception, or if you want to look at the other way, the interference call that was not called.
Yeah, and Shante Spencer has been important coming back. The 49ers coming in put two different cornerbacks on IR this week, Sammy Davis and Donald Strickland, and they weren't sure Spencer was going to be able to come back. He missed 3 games with an ankle injury, but he comes up huge, and 49ers aren't out of the mix. It'll be a tough road, but they're not out of it yet.
Inside the 15-second mark, Hasselbeck will throw for the end zone again. Jump ball there. Jeremy Stevens may have come up with it. He did. Touchdown, Seattle. This was just kind of a jump ball, and Stevens at 6'7" out-jumped Spencer at 6'1".
Well, you say meaningless touchdown at the end of the game, but for Stevens, it's not. You know, you hope that making some plays like that and scoring a touchdown builds his confidence a bit, because if he gets it going, he can make a difference for this team.
Josh Brown will cut the margin to 10, but with 9 seconds left, I suspect this is just window dressing at this point. If not, we really got a story here.
I suspect.
NFL Films counts down to the best team to ever win a Super Bowl. Tomorrow, it's number 17, the 1994 San Francisco 49ers. Here's Steve Young and his teammates tell the story of their team, truly young at heart, tomorrow night, 8:30, only on NFL Network.
Steve Young was under a little pressure after that Joe Montana reign. I'll tell you, the 49ers team that I'll never forget's that one with Joe Montana and Jerry Rice. That last
that was the
drive
one that deprived you, huh?
They put on our, he took my Super Bowl ring right off my finger on that one. It was about 90 yards with a minute and a half or so to go in that game in Miami.
And it wasn't Jerry who caught the winning score.
No, John Taylor came up with the play. They took another Super Bowl ring off my finger in '81, so rather fond of that organization. Every time I go in the 49ers facility, I go by and wave to my 2 trophies, take a look at the 2 rings, and say goodbye. And if there's another ring in the future, you got to think that guy's going to be a big part of it. Frank Gore, tremendous night. But I think the best news tonight, if you're a 49er fan, is the play of Alex Smith. He was sensational in the second half.
Well, we know what's coming here. But even if successful, you got to believe this one is a foregone conclusion. 49ers have it. That's Antonio Bryant up there with just 8 seconds left. The 49ers will come out for the genuflection to bring this one to a close. Bryant Young, 13-year veteran. Good night for him.
Bryant Young.
He's the last remainder of that 49er championship team.
And such an important guy in so many different ways, but never gives an inch. Well respected everywhere you go in the National Football League. They talk about Bryant Young and how solid he still is. And but there are new stars on the horizon here tonight. Frank Gore has taken over the rushing lead in the NFL. Almost 1,500 yards and still with a couple to go. That's pretty darn impressive.
Big night for Gore. Gore finishing with 144 yards on 29 carries. Mike Nolan, his team beats the defending NFC champions in both games this year, 20-14 in San Francisco, and here in Seattle, 24-14.
And you know, if you're Mike Nolan, you have to go knock off the king. You know, now you go into this offseason or last couple games of the season and you go, hey, that's the best of our division, and we beat them twice. Now, what can't we do, guys? And it really is a confidence builder for this organization.
And he talked about that. He talked about that the Seahawks are the gold standard in this division. And if you're going to go anywhere in this division, you have to start by beating them.
Yeah, and I'm just such a believer in this league that if you can pound the football and just wear people out with the running game, there are going to be a lot of good things happen to you. Your quarterback's going to look better, or in the case of the Seattle Seahawks, if you can't run it the way you used to, your quarterback's not going to look as good.
You sure you don't want to come to Atlanta with me, huh?
You know, I'd love to.
The playoffs are on the line Saturday night when the 8-5